part of what makes living in the 904 so great.
Shop the 904.
Powered by Cox Media Group.
Trust, tradition, and quality. A winning combination to feel good about your home. Sometimes it's just that time to replace your roof. Or maybe you need to fix your roof after a recent storm. Hey, everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jax. And there are so many roofing companies in the area. But which one can you trust? Let me tell you about my friends at Jack C. Wilson Roofing Company. Trust a family-owned business with owners that grew up right here in Jacksonville. Talk to the owners directly. Get free estimates. And you can trust Jack C. Wilson Roofing to walk you through each step of the process. Tradition? Jack C. Wilson is a name you know. The longest-standing roofing company in Northeast Florida. They have been repairing and replacing asphalt shingle roofs since 1946. How about quality? A roof you will tell your neighbors about. Quality from start to finish, shingle by shingle. You can request a free estimate at jackcwilsonroofing.com. It's the first name in Jacksonville roofing. And make sure you let them know Brent Martineau sent you.
There is one name synonymous with joint replacement excellence, and that name is Heekin of the Heekin Clinic. For 18 years, Dr. R. David Heekin and his staff have been the leader for treatment of hip and knee pain. Eliminating hip and knee pain through advanced surgical and non-surgical techniques has been Dr. Heekin's sole goal since retiring from the Army in 2001. If you're looking to ease your hip and knee pain, schedule an appointment today and call 328-5979 or visit HeekinClinic.com. That's HeekinClinic.com.
It got me thinking back to my days covering the Giants camp. I remember talking about how hard it was, mostly if it went against the rules, because Strahan and some other players would challenge Coughlin on it.
Do you remember those days, though, where teams would get punished?
Action Sports Jax, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Trey Wingo here from Golic & Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane. Give the guys a call. Grab your cell phone and call ** 690. This is ESPN 690.
All I know is greatness from him, on the football field, so that's all I know. So I expect him to go out there and perform at a high level, and hopefully help us win some ball games.
Well, that's Calais Campbell yesterday in the locker room, and the players were kind of interesting on this. If you look at their demeanor, I know that's hard to do on the radio side, but if you even hear the tone of their voice, I think they're a little bit taken aback by all this. I think that's fair to say, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I heard and saw Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell and Leonard Fournette, and I don't think they were to the point. Sometimes you see in these things where you just are all in and got their guys back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it was a Kaepernick situation or whether it was a guy that's holding out for a contract or whatever it might be. And players respect players, and players want their players back. There's an NFLPA for a reason. And I'm not saying they didn't have Jalen Ramsey back. Please don't get that mixed up. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they were kind of you could almost sense okay, I get some of this, but we got a football game to be played.
True, but you can't say the same for Miles Jack, though. Miles Jack was pretty adamant that they wanted to re-sign Jalen Ramsey to a new deal and have him on the team.
Yeah, he was. And even
and that's your captain.
I thought it was interesting because his whole deal was kind of spontaneous, how he went down there for the news conference. Because to be honest with you, it was an interesting look from Miles Jack to go down there for the news conference after he just got $33 million from the organization. He doesn't have a beef with the organization. Right?
No, but Jalen Ramsey's his teammate, though, Brent.
I understand. But if you just got handed $33 million from those same people, you don't really have a beef. You're going to protect the guy that asked for a trade and doesn't want to be a part of it.
It depends what you believe in. Do you believe in family more and brotherhood, or do you believe in money more? In my opinion.
Well, where should the loyalty lie? I mean, what's Jalen Ramsey giving Miles Jack?
Bro, that's his teammate, okay? I get it. Where you got offered a new contract, you're paid the third highest linebacker in the NFL right now. So, yes, you have to be loyal to the team. But at the same time, the guy that's writing the checks, the guy that negotiated the checks, isn't on the field with you every single day, isn't going through training camp with you every single day, isn't going through meetings with you every single day, okay? They're not. Jalen Ramsey's with Miles Jack every single day. Jalen Ramsey's, putting his body on the line with Miles Jack every single day. So from that perspective, yeah, Miles Jack has Jalen Ramsey's back, regardless of how much Miles Jack is making from the Jaguars.
Yeah, and that goes back to, though, isn't there a little bit of part of some people in that locker room? I'm not saying Miles Jack, I'm not saying Calais Campbell. I'm not putting any words in anybody's mouth, and I'm not even labeling any of them. But don't you think there are some people that went home last night or Tuesday morning before they got in the building and may have even whispered to their wife or to their mom or dad or to their girlfriend or maybe even another teammate and said, that guy is my teammate. I love that guy for going through everything. And now he just flipped this season on its head in the last 2 days, even though we all just went through this together. Like, why am I showing this sign of respect and love for Jalen Ramsey when he basically just said, sorry, guys, I'm out? Mm-hmm. Why should I show this love and respect for Jalen Ramsey if he just did that to his teammates in his locker room? Because he can say all he wants that he loves his teammates, but that's what he just did. No, absolutely. And if I'm Jalen Ramsey's teammate, yes, I would selfishly want him on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you know why? Because it's most importantly to win games. True. And if Jalen leaves and if they get draft picks or whatever they get from him, well, I'm not winning games this year, so that affects me as a player. But at the end of the day, like I said, the guy that you sit next to in the locker, the guy that you go to battle with on the field every single day, the most important part that I want to see, Brent, more than winning games and more than, my teammate being treated right, is my teammate being happy. And if Jalen Ramsey isn't happy here, if Jalen Ramsey's fed up with the situation here and he can't, he can't be himself, he's dreading coming to work every single day, then as his teammate, and I don't care if he's a Pro Bowler or I don't care if he's the last guy on the list of that roster. I don't care. If he's not happy, I just want to see that dude be happy. Because we've been through too much to let, politics of me getting paid by a certain amount by the organization dictate that. That's very admirable of you. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist in the locker room, and I'm not saying that's not you and maybe 40 guys in the locker room. Mm-hmm. I just have a hard time believing everybody thinks that way. Yeah, I mean, and you've played with a lot of people that probably don't think that way. Yeah, and you have to understand the game of the NFL. And listen, I talk about the landscape changing and all this, but this comment here, it's always been the same in the NFL. Players play for different reasons. I'll take you back to the combine real quick. When I was meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers scout, first question they asked me, why do you play football and why do you want to play in the NFL? And I told them, because I want to win a Super Bowl. Duh. And he's like, you'd be surprised how many players don't answer that question. He goes, number one, that was the right question. The right answer. That's what we want in Pittsburgh. We want to win Super Bowls. But you'd be surprised how many guys don't answer that way. How many guys are going to say the glory? How many guys are going to say the money? How many guys are going to say just the fame and the reputation, whatever it is, or the pension, even like just to have fun. Yeah, there's a million answers for there, and there's a million answers in that Jaguars locker room right now while guys are playing the game. That's a good point. Some for money, some for family, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, and this is, there's outliers, Brent. There's outliers in any kind of job. But at the end of the day, they're still going to be close with each other in the fact that if you don't see your brother is happy, if you don't see your brother's succeeding or just being his best self, then you're going to support him no matter what he does. All right. I want to get to your point. You texted me this morning, and and by the way, you had already tweeted out, and I think I tweeted on top of that, and we've had these discussions. This is not a Jalen Ramsey only discussion. I want to preface that because I think, hopefully we're getting more and more listeners here to this show. And I think a topic like Jalen Ramsey brings new people on checking it out. But we have talked about this, right? How many times have we talked about in the last 9 months the branding of players in sports, whether it's the NBA, NFL, MLB, everything else? And what that is also is a changing of the way players approach things inside, I think, even a locker room or in a franchise and how they view things. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a disconnect. And I agree with you on this, and I don't know how much of it I agree with you, but in principle, I've heard a lot of people, what I tweeted today is I've heard a lot of people in the last day or so talk about, and they're former players. And not just here in Jacksonville. I'm not talking just about the Jacksonville former players. I've seen this everywhere. I've seen it everywhere about, well, this isn't how you're supposed to do it. This isn't how it's done. This isn't players don't do this. When I played this, hey, it's a different animal. And people don't want to acknowledge change when it's happening. Mm-hmm. It's happening in front of our eyes. You're 31 years old. We just brought this up Monday. You're a 31-year-old. You played in the NFL now, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? Yeah. And you even say it's changed from since you left in 2014. Mm-hmm. So that's how much it's changing in front of our eyes, right? Yeah. The Le'Veon Bell situation, Antonio Brown to Oakland, and now to New England. Mm-hmm. Melvin Gordon situation, Ezekiel Elliott situation, now this Jalen Ramsey situation. Not to say anything is like this has never happened before. Yeah. But the way it's viewed and how this is working and what's going on and what players are willing to risk is changing in the NFL. It is not your daddy's NFL. I even tweeted that a couple days ago. The Ultimate Team game is no longer the Ultimate Team game. It's about me first. It's about my brand. It's about my checking account. And then, yeah, I want to win too, by the way. I want it all, but I want to take care of me first. That's the way I view it.
Yeah. Well,
the difference in generations is your beef, though, at how people view of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the thing. And before I get started here, I should probably preface this by saying a little statement here. So, Brent, you've known me for a while now. I've done the radio show for a while. In terms of football mentality, I'm from the old school, okay? I was the guy who was begging for full pads every single day. I was the guy that was begging for Jack Del Rio. Not 2 days, but I was the guy that was begging Jack Del Rio's to Oklahoma Joe's today, because I love that part of the game. I'll be honest with you, and I've said it before on the show. I hated pass rushing. Do you know why? Because I didn't care about flipping my hips, using a swim move and getting off the block. No, I wanted to go in on 4th and 1. I wanted to be mano-a-mano and see who the man really was and who's going to push who back. That's what I loved about football. To me, that's football. It's the trenches. It's the warfare. And I love
Run
that
the ball
part
and stop the run.
Thank you very much, man. I'll be saying to the day I die. True story. So, you may wonder, well, why do I have Jalen Ramsey's side? Why? And it's pretty evident that I'm taking Jalen Ramsey's side here. And it's not that I'm taking Jalen Ramsey's side. I don't really know Jalen Ramsey. I've worked out with him a couple times. We might have said 3 or 4 words. I can't call Jalen Ramsey and he's going to come pick me up at the airport, okay? We're not friends, all right? He probably doesn't know me from Adam. So be it. I'm not taking Jalen Ramsey's side. I'm seeing the side of the player, of the modern era football player. Now, how did I get there in the first place? Brent, we live in a world now, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on social media, where it's like the cool thing to hate on something, right? Where this music sucks. This movie sucks. Let's everybody just pile on. Remember when Jason Witten was doing Monday Night Football? I felt bad for Jason Witten. Yeah, he wasn't the best, but it was his first year doing it, and everybody piled on him. Well, you guys drove him outside the booth, and now he's playing for the Dallas Cowboys. He's like 50-something years old because he couldn't do the booth anymore because he was tired of the hate all the time. I get it, Jason, man. I'm with you. I thought you were okay. But that's kind of the cool thing to do now is hate on things. So, and it's a generational thing. So when I turn on the radio, when I go on ESPN, when I read articles, it's the same thing. It's the old school football players, the guys that I grew up watching, the guys that I grew up idolizing, the guys that inspired me to play the game of football are now going, this era's football player, soft. You hear words like soft, weak, entitled, selfish. It's all about me. And that pisses me off, man. It really pisses me off because, wow, that's the easy thing to say. While it's easy to go with the status quo and say, oh, yeah, these new guys just don't get how the old days were. No, I was part of the two-a-days, all right? I was part of the old school, and I was part of the new school as well. And I was there when we didn't have two-a-days anymore, and I was there when the older players would come in and talk to us and be like, you guys don't know how good you got it. You guys got it soft. Well, that's the easy thing to do. And when I knew I was going to work on the radio and I was going to interview football players, I took it upon myself not to take the easy way out. I was going to talk to football players. I wanted to get their mindset, not as me interviewing them for the radio show. I just want to talk to them man-to-man and see where they're coming from. And I talked to old vets. I talked to guys that are still on the Jaguars. I talked to guys around the league. And I texted them like, hey, what do you think about the current state of the NFL right now? What's going on? And, they had no problem talking to that about me. So here's some of the problems that I had with it, Brent. So the older generations, like I said, the guys that grew up watching the Jaguars, they grew up watching the Jaguars now, and they're fed up with Jalen Ramsey, the ego, the entitlement, all this stuff. Well, let's go back in time real quick, and let's see who I was watching as a kid who was inspiring me to play football. Back in the 90s, who was one of the biggest teams in the 90s? Who was America's team? The Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys had a slew of guys that got arrested, a slew of guys that got caught in a prostitution sting, and a slew of guys that got caught doing drugs, all while being one of the best teams in the NFL. All while that best team in the NFL was shoved down my throat in Wisconsin every single week because they were, quote-unquote, America's team. Sure, Green Bay played at noon, but then after that, it was the Dallas Cowboys. Check the Dallas Cowboys out. Brent, I didn't know what cocaine was until I heard it mentioned in a news article about a Dallas Cowboy player getting caught with cocaine. And I turned to somebody, I'm like, what's cocaine? I'm in grade school. What's cocaine? And then I got explained to me. That's who I was watching as a kid. And let's talk about some more stuff then. So I get what you're saying, maybe. Austin, you know what? Well, yeah, that's true, but that's not the on-the-field behavior, right? That's off-the-field type of behavior. There's a difference there. What about the locker room distraction, things like that? Oh, cool. Check this out. So I grew up a Green Bay Packer fan, all right? And in the 90s, it was a special time to be a Packers fan. You had Brett Favre playing in his prime. You had a team that went to the Super Bowl a couple times. And if you were a kid in that time, you were a Packers fan. Well, what was the story every single year about Brett Favre? He didn't want to go to training camp. He felt like he didn't need training camp, so he sat out the entire preseason and then showed up week one. And that is what it was. And you want to talk about selfish and entitlement, those words who are around Jalen Ramsey right now, who could be a Hall of Famer one day, you never hear the word selfish when you talk about Brett Favre. You never hear the word entitled. We talk about Brett Favre. You hear about the gunslinger. You hear about the winner. You hear about the team first kind of guy. Well, that team first kind of guy in Brett Favre, he sat out one year and he threatened to sit out the entire season because he didn't feel that Javon Walker, one of his wide receivers, deserved a new contract. And Brett Favre went to management and said, if you guys are going to let Javon Walker sit out, then guess what? I'm going to sit out too. Is that a leader? And that's a quarterback. This isn't a corner we're talking about. This is the face of your franchise. This is Brett freaking Favre, for crying out loud. And Brett Favre did that. But nobody said, oh, Brett Favre's being selfish. It's like, Brett Favre's being the team guy. Mm-hmm. You know, Brett Favre's doing his best for the franchise. But then when Jalen Ramsey threatens a trade, or when any other player you want to talk about, whatever it is, when they do that, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's selfish. This has been going on for such a long time now, Brent. Whether it was the 90s, even the 80s, whether it was the 2000s, pick your time period. The difference is now is that with social media and the way that we cover sports, people are more susceptible to it. People can embrace it a lot more now, and people can get the different angles from different teams. Back in the day when I was in Wisconsin, I was in a bubble. All I knew was the Green Bay Packers. Didn't know what was going on in Jacksonville. I knew Jacksonville came to Stevens Point. I saw that training camp. That was cool. But I didn't know anything about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nowadays, you go on Twitter, you click and see what the first thing. Jalen Ramsey's requesting a trade. And that's kind of the difference now between the old school and the new school. The things haven't changed. If you feel more comfortable raising your kids back then, when drugs were prevalent, when prostitution stings, when players are getting caught, when the Minnesota Vikings, when I was in high school, had a big yacht party, and they got busted with that, like, I don't want to have to explain my son that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? I've had conversations with some of those Viking players that were on that yacht. I'm not going to tell what happened. I mean, it's documented what happened on that yacht thing, but it's worse than you can imagine. There's more than that documentation with that yacht party in Minnesota. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible kind of thing. But those things have always been going on. So you can't be an old school guy, sit on your high horse and tell me, the kids these days, they just don't know how good how hard it was back then. Oh, really? Because we learned from watching you, and now we're here. So whose fault is it really?
It's a very good point. You bring up good examples, and I can't deny that there are examples of that. I do feel like, and I think the preface the way I did, is that the athlete has changed in the sense of not falling in line as much. Mm-hmm. And maybe you could give me some example, maybe like some of those examples you gave kind of dispute that, but I do think because of the dollars more so than anything else. Like, see, that's my hang up is there's a backbone of you have money in the bank. Look at all the guys doing it. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their bank account said, but it was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Jalen Ramsey. After this year, he had made $27 million in the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott, he still had 2 years left on his deal, but is he doing like ads all over the place, and he's already made good amount of money being a top 5 pick. So my point is, if you take us back 20 years ago, even first-round picks, top 5 picks, didn't have $27 million at the end of their first contract. Most of them didn't. I don't know what the dollars were relative to, but that was 20 years ago, and it wasn't that chunk of change. So I think that's really changed the not only the motivation, but maybe the brashness it takes to do this stuff. Yeah. And say, I'm sitting out a year. Melvin Gordon, I'm sitting out for as long as I need to sit out to try to get my way, and I'm willing to do it. Antonio Brown to say, I'm not doing anything until you get me out of here. Jalen Ramsey, at least he's not doing that. He just has requested to go somewhere. Ezekiel Elliott to not come back until he got tired of Cabo and Jerry Jones gave him a call. So it's not like it's unprecedented. Mm-hmm. I think we're getting to a point where it's going to be more prevalent. Yeah. And I think that also is a disconnect with the other generation. Say, you're not supposed to do it that way. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be done that way. And it's changing before our eyes in the sense there's so many big bucks, and people have seen what the NBA has done. The NBA is the training ground for this. They've seen what happened this offseason.
Yeah.
Is there a GM in the NBA? No. I think it's star players or the GMs.
Yeah.
And they saw that. Mm-hmm. It's a little more difficult to do in the NFL. That's debatable. That's a different issue. But I think they're seeing that and saying, wait a minute, man, all these baseball contracts, all these NBA contracts, they're making tons of money. We're getting our brains beat in. All those old guys that said, man, I wish I had gotten more money. I'm not feeling as well as I should feel at age 45, 50, 55 years old. This is a dangerous sport. You didn't take care of us as much. And now we're trying to take care of ourselves, and now you're hammering us for it.
Yeah.
So, and that's not me defending the players. I think there's a fine line in that. I can appreciate it. I understand it. I get why there's a short shelf life. And I always go back to the Maurice Jones Drew one. He'll join us today at 4:30. But I always go back and say, I understood what he was trying to do. He knew he had a short shelf life. He had to try to get as much money as possible. And he had a little bit of leverage left in him to try to do it. He tried it. It didn't work out for him, but he tried it. So I understand what the player does. I think sometimes the tact they go about. See, like the Jalen Ramsey problem I have is, why are we doing this in week 2? If you wanted to do it, then have the backbone to do it and do it back in camp when they told you they weren't giving you a contract.
But to be fair, you don't know where his mindset was back in camp.
We don't even know because Jalen hasn't shared with us. Jalen assumes we all know, and Jalen doesn't. I don't even know Jalen completely knows the one thing that has tipped him off. Yeah. Because he even said yesterday, well, it's not the contract. We got to hang that thing up a little better.
I know. I'm on it.
But it's not the case. It's not the contract. God will take care of that. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. It's not? Then what is it? It's Doug Marrone. Okay. So either way, it's the timing. It's the place. I think there's a line for it. But I can't disagree with you that yes, it has been going on for a long time. Yeah. I think it's a different animal now because of the branding and whether it's selfishness or not, it's more player empowerment is what I call it. Yeah. And then we can debate whether that's good or bad for certain sports. It's worked out okay to this point in the NBA. I'm not sure it's a good thing for the NFL.
I hear what you're saying. I'm kind of exhausted, Brent, and I'm sick and tired of just hearing this whole narrative of where the entitlement and the players are soft and they're spoiled because why? Because they believe in themselves and they want more money to make for their family.
Well, I think we're all jealous of that in a way, too. Like in real world, right? In real world, we can't do that. Yeah. I mean, I might have a decent paycheck, but I can't do that. I can't tell the bosses today that I'm going to not show up today because I want more money. Yeah. I can't do that for my family. I can't do that. I need the paycheck. Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of people that live day to day that are like, are you kidding? You're making the millions. We all wish we were making millions. You have all this talent. We all wish you had this talent. And I couldn't do that in my job. Mm-hmm. That's where the disconnect. We cannot relate. I love when people try to say it's just like my job. No, it's not like your job. It's nothing like your job, really.
But this is where I'm frustrated, Brent. This is where I'm frustrated when I turn on ESPN and I see my peers or guys I grew up watching talking bad about the players because they do know. Yeah, they do understand how it is. But
they fell in line back when they played.
They fell in line back when
they had a respect for Tom Coughlin. Well, and I'm not saying Doug Marrone and their coaching staff.
Well, and I'm not saying it's just that. I mean, I'm talking about players on a scale, and I'm talking about in the mid '90s, in the early '90s. If Twitter would have been invented around then, and we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys of those years or other scandals that went on during those times. Players would it would be ugly. It's all I'm going to say.
It would be ugly, but I think it's also too easy to say it's just social media. I don't think it's just social media. I do think it's dollars because back in the day when Emmitt Smith played and Troy Aikman played, they made a lot of money, but they didn't make that much more money than, say, the head coach or the people in the front office. And Jerry Jones was still making more money than any of them. Now, that's still the case, right? That's still the case. That doesn't change. But what has changed, Austin, is the fact that Jalen Ramsey is making a ton more money than Doug Marrone. Yeah, a ton more money than Dave Caldwell and Tom Coughlin and all those guys. And it's not just a Jalen thing. I'm saying players that are doing this kind of stuff are making so much more money that they are more powerful.
Because the NFL is making more money, though.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing they're making more money. Yeah, I think it's a seismic shift, though, when you become the more powerful figure. Yeah. Because, well, you're the more valued figure from a dollar's perspective. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, they are making a lot more money than they used to make. So I think that's why we've seen the shift. But we've also seen the tension on branding, and we've also seen, I think, this is a big agent push.
Yeah.
The agents are behind a lot of this. The agents are directing them, not all the time, but I think directing players be like, you could do this and it will work out for you. Mm-hmm. Right?
No, for sure. And it's just to me, it's just it's a culture thing, Brent. We do it with music, we do it with everything, and sports is just a part of it too. And I understand that's how the landscape is. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's not going to. It's not going to change. I think people have to recognize that today's NFL is, although you bring up examples that have similarities, is still different than 15 years ago.
These are just examples that I know from Green Bay, being a Packers fan as a kid. I mean, I'm sure they're everywhere. I just talk about what I know, and I know what happened in Green Bay.
Well, sometimes I do throw the word selfish out there, and I do. And I said that yesterday. I think I'm conflicted on Jalen because I respect the power that he's in. I respect the power play that he can have because he has value, right? I talked about his branding and everything else. I also respect that he's a heck of a football player, which gives you power because you do something that very few people can do. Not only play football, but play it at an elite level, and maybe nobody does it better than you at your position. So that you're a position of power. But there is the selfishness about it in a team sport about doing the timing in which you did it and how you did it. And that is crystal clear. And there's no denying that. He is selfish in that regard.
And it was a distraction. Whether he wanted it to be or not, that was a distraction. And that hurts your team. Correct. Absolutely. But when we're talking about selfishness and the distractions and things like that, Brent, if you're one of his teammates, you may get asked a question about it in the locker room, right? You may have to answer for that, and you shouldn't have to do that. But at the end of the day, when you're on the field, if it's Thursday night, tomorrow, and you're playing the Tennessee Titans, when those players take the field, they're not going to worry about Jalen Ramsey's selfishness. They're not going to worry about Jalen Ramsey's entitlement or his distractions. All they care about is, hey, Jalen, you take either Corey Davis or A.J. Brown, whoever you got, lock him down, and let's go in a football game. And then that's football. Hate to tell you.
There is one soft part of today's player, and I'm going to bring it up. They are soft in this regard. I'm going to throw it right back at you.
You're going to have a heart attack.
They are soft in this regard.
I'm going to have a heart attack today, Brent.
It is unbelievable how soft they are in this regard.
I'm sweating.
And I'm going to talk about it next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. The Jalen Ramsey saga rolls on as it seems unlikely that the Jags will trade the embattled corner before tomorrow night's game. And here's what ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter thinks it will take to get a deal done.
The issue here is that you have to compensate the Jacksonville Jaguars and then give Jalen Ramsey a huge new contract extension. Jalen Ramsey wants to be paid. That's a part of any trade that would happen. When the time comes that Jacksonville has received what it believes is a fair offer, they're going to trade Jalen Ramsey because he wants out, and I think they'd like him out.
And Ramsey isn't the only Jaguar making a splash. Rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew was offered an endorsement deal worth up to $1 million from an adult website. As part of the agreement, Minshew would guide and live stream an exercise class in the nude or only wearing a jockstrap. Sorry. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Don't miss the ultimate land liquidation sale on Saturday, September 21st, and save up to 70% on all lake access home sites. Get 1 to 3 acres and a new barn-dominium shell from only $47,900. All roads and utilities are 100% complete, including clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, and more. All lake access home sites will be liquidated from only $14,900. That's right, only $14,900. To schedule a tour, call 888-GET-LAND or visit at 888getland.com.
Beard's Diamond's incredible 5 years, 0 interest with 0 down has been so popular, we're extending it till the end of September. Take advantage of Beard's Diamond's already low prices. Then spread your payments out over 60 months. Shop Beard's Diamonds.
Located at the St. John's Town Center.
Many children in Florida are eligible for head-to-toe health and dental coverage with costs as low as $15 a month. The Player Center for Child Health at Wilson Children's Hospital offers free application assistance for families applying for Florida Kid Care. Call 904-202-9355. Habla Español.
Hey, boss, you're not gonna believe this.
What now?
Remember Frankie, the guy we've been showing the ropes to?
Who?
You know, our protege.
Oh, yeah, Frankie. The next generation of crooks making us proud.
Yeah, not so much. Boss, he just got busted.
He what?
Yup. Cops caught him. He was, Boss, you might want to sit down for this.
Uh-oh. Sounds serious.
Yeah, they caught him breaking into our warehouse.
Oh, that little weasel. Of all the places to break into, he chose our warehouse? You just can't trust anyone these days.
Yeah, and he knew we had Safe Touch security monitoring the place with the two-way communicator, the video monitoring.
Huh. Serves him right for breaking rule number 1 in the Crooks R Us handbook.
Stay away from Safe Touch houses. Yeah.
Kids these days.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Our partners at BSN Sports, the largest provider of team sports equipment and apparel in the country, would like to thank all of the coaches out there who truly are the heart of the game. While BSN Sports is the best at equipping athletes with a one-stop shop for everything needed to run an athletic program, coaches are the best at equipping lives. And that's the real final score. Learn more about how BSN Sports can save you time off the field so you can impact more lives on it by calling your local BSN Sports sales professional or by visiting bsnsports.com today.
What's up, North Florida poker fans? This is Allie McNeil from both Best Bet Card Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. The World Poker Tour returns to Jacksonville September 27th with 22 total events and over $1.3 million in guarantees. The $5,000 buy-in Best Bet Bounty Scramble will host 30 of the most acclaimed celebrities from around the world. Knock out any of the celebrity bounties and get $2,500 on the spot. Take part in all the glory and fame at this year's WPT Series. For more information, visit them on the web at bestbetjax.com. Best Bet, where anybody can.
Get super savings on over 1,000 vehicles on the lot right now at Arlington Toyota. It's the 2020 Supra Sales Event going on now at Arlington Toyota. Plus, you'll pay up to 50% less on remaining 2019 Toyotas. You heard right, up to 50% less on remaining pre-owned 2019s. Looking at a 2019 Toyota Highlander? It's not $35,500. Now, it's only $24,888. That's $24,888 for a pre-owned 2019 Toyota Highlander at Arlington Toyota. Thinking about a 2019 Toyota 4Runner? It's not $36,500. No way. Now it's just $28,888. Just $28,888 for a pre-owned 2019 Toyota 4Runner at Arlington Toyota. But Arlington gives you even more with their $5,000 Advantage Club. It comes with your purchase and it's packed with savings, discounts, rewards, and even a national lifetime warranty with unlimited time and miles for new purchases. Shop Arlington Toyota today, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/super savings for offer details.
With Experian Boost, instantly boost your FICO score for free. Higher credit scores can help you get access to credit and open up preferred credit options. See Experian.com/America for details. Results may vary.
Vida de Louis, a locally owned tequila right here in Jacksonville, wants to help our friends in the Bahamas. Hey everyone, this is Austin Lane.
And I'm Brent Martineau. Vida de Louis is one of the smoothest tequilas you'll ever taste. It's made in Tequila, Mexico and shipped directly to Jax Beach. But Vida de Louis has friends all over the world, and that includes in the Bahamas. Help us raise money for the Treasure Key Relief Fund and Hopetown Rising.
Check out Vida de Louis on social media and the website vidadelouis.com.
50% of all merchandise will go to these funds. Please help Vida de Louis help the Bahamas by going to vidadelouis.com.
This season, our team will have the best defense in the league. For your home, the best defense is a fence from Armstrong Fence Company. When it comes to home fences, Jacksonville owners trust Armstrong Fence Company. Visit Armstrong-Fence.com. That's Armstrong-Fence.com. Armstrong Fence Company. Yeah, we did the fence.
That's the crossroads.
So then you would have Jerry Jones basically saying we're not paying market value for what this guy would be worth.
He just came out and said you can win a Super Bowl without winning a rushing title.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
I'm Kevin Hardy, former All-Pro linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is Action Sports Jax.
He's on our football team. So status quo, moving ahead. He was out in walkthroughs and meetings today, taking notes. And, he's a competitor. So if he's in our building and all that kind of stuff, we anticipate he's going to play, and he's going to play well. That's just who Jalen is. In my opinion, I hope so. Yeah, I'd like to see him on the grass.
I always like when defensive coordinator Todd Wash says, like, see him on the grass. Anyway, that was Todd Wash, who, there's reason to think that there's a big reason why there's a disconnect right now is because of Todd Wash's scheme and how they're using him. I mean, that's one of the reasonings. although nothing's defined. And I do want to talk about that a little bit later on. What is the actual reason? And there's a part of me that says, and I think I said this at the top of the show, if the Jags win tomorrow night and Jalen plays well and they can't trade him, and the Jags win the next week in Denver and they're 2-2, and Minshew Mania and Magic is going crazy a little bit, and Jalen has a couple of picks now, why do I feel like Jalen Ramsey could easily change his tune? Because I think this was a bit of an emotional play coming off the weekend. I believe that if they had won that game on a 2-point conversion, Jalen Ramsey and Doug Marrone would have hugged at the end of that game. Because that's what winning and losing does in the NFL. That's my point here. Now, Jalen might stick to his guns on this and just say, hey, I'm out, I want out, get me out, and let's find a way to do it. Even though if it might take some time, I'm going to play until, and he said that, and I believe that by him, that he will play hard while he's here. But I just feel like we could be dancing a little bit. Now, the danger in that is every time you go on a 2-game losing streak or something goes wrong, I want to trade again. And that's what we don't know about this whole situation. Like, how much has this come up in the past? We don't know that. We don't know if Jalen Ramsey's asked for a trade in the past. This is the first time it's gotten out.
Yeah. And you have to ask the question as well, where, say he does stay for whatever reason, maybe he did overblow things a little bit on the sideline and he wants to stay. I'm not saying I agree with that perspective, but let's just say that is the perspective. Well, who's to say that he's going to want to be here next year if the same front office is intact? Because I think, obviously, we think the front office is definitely a problem, at least the fact that Jalen Ramsey and Doug Marrone haven't been communicating at all.
A problem for Ramsey.
A problem for Ramsey.
Well, some people think it's a problem in general. I just wanted to clarify what you were saying. Anyway, Stuart Weber's down there at Jags headquarters. The availability keeps getting later and later. We got a radio show to do, people. So I can't be down there, and I hate that. But this is what happened today with Doug Marrone. And we'll hear from Doug Marrone on the show a little bit later. Stuart's bringing that back, and we'll have it for you. But Cam Robinson will start at left tackle, AJ Cann at right guard. So that means Will Richardson is out for this game. Must not have played well enough. Or Cam Robinson can't lose his job to injury, one of the two, and they now feel like a couple of practice days he's ready. I'm assuming Will Richardson just didn't play well enough. He cost him big on the obviously merciless play.
No, of course, Will Richardson didn't play well enough. But once again, he's playing a position that he's not used to playing.
That's fine.
But then my question is, wouldn't you consider him going back to the guard spot for Cann? Or is it almost too late now with the footwork and everything? He's accustomed to playing left tackle.
I don't think so. I think I think maybe Cann played okay last week.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything?
You know what? I wasn't. He wasn't the issue, right? I wasn't seeing him pop up on the screen. So yeah,
I didn't see anything glaring.
You're absolutely right there.
He might have earned his spot for this week, and that could be ever changing. From that standpoint, Jalen Ramsey will play in the football game. Will start, and Doug Marrone says that they had a conversation. And they sat down and talked. So that communication that we talked about yesterday on the show has taken place. And Doug Marrone says they've put the incident behind them. Okay, well, here's two things to digest. Okay, one is, has Jalen Ramsey really put the incident behind him? Yesterday he said he's in a good frame of mind. He's in a good place. But it's not like he's rescinded his "don't trade me" request. At least that hasn't got out there yet. Doug Marrone. It's amazing how much he's dying on the vine for the players. Now, he has to do this for his football team. There's a part of that. This isn't about him and Jalen. And I appreciate that about Doug. He's not making it about him and Jalen. I think he made a big error. I've said this multiple times this week. He made a big error in this whole thing, and that was two errors in a matter of 5 minutes on Sunday afternoon. One was going over to that bench and confronting Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done it. He didn't need to do it. Gasoline on the fire.
The boss can't do that.
Well, the boss can do that, but the boss can't do that in this day and age when millions of people are watching and there's 24 cameras out there and everybody is going to see what you're doing. You have to be aware of that. He should do that after the game or at halftime or wherever else. And the second place he messed up is he didn't discipline Jalen Ramsey right then and say you're out for a series or two or the game. I don't know what the discipline would have been. He should have done it right then. And if it cost them the game, it cost them the game. They lost anyway. So he lost everything in this because you couldn't discipline him on Monday or they decided not to. And here we are. But they had a conversation, and Doug Marrone says, we put it behind us. So once again, and this is not the first time, he is out in the public protecting the player, not hammering the player. Yet why do I get the sense there is absolutely zero appreciation for that from the players, or at least from Ramsey.
What do you want Ramsey to say? Like, yeah, you want him to come on and say, I really appreciate Doug Marrone for having my back?
He doesn't need to talk, but his actions.
What do you say, the appreciation?
His actions have indicated, or let's just say this, in total, their team, that they just went through an easier camp.
Yeah.
All these things, every time something comes up, Doug does not throw a player under the bus.
Correct.
And yet his football team is out there throwing punches in week 1 and throwing tantrums in week 2 on the sideline.
But let me ask you this, Brent. We get on...
And not winning football games to boot.
What do we get on Doug Marrone about, though, more than anything? It's the fact that he doesn't really share what's truly happening, right? Like, he always comes down and said, it's my fault. But then we know behind the scenes, he'll close the doors and probably chew out his team, as he should. That's being a head coach.
He probably does. We're assuming he does.
Let's just say if I was a coach, absolutely. Yeah. Like, if I was a coach, Brent, and I have to come to the podium after my team wasn't performing well, yeah, it falls on me first, yada, yada, yada. Okay, are the cameras off? Are the doors closed? Yeah, I'm chewing somebody out, okay? Yeah. So from that standpoint, yeah, we see Doug Marrone for what he is at the press conferences. We see Doug Marrone in front of the microphones, but we don't know what's going on in that locker room when those doors are closed, when they're in those team meetings. Maybe that's not the same Doug Marrone that we're seeing as he's presenting himself.
I doubt it.
And maybe that lies the problem.
Yeah, that's good call. I think it's probably more forceful, but I don't think it's too much more forceful. I think he's put ownership into this team. I think his actions have shown that. I don't think you can hide it that much. And he has, Jalen thinks he got disrespected by not throwing a challenge flag. The disrespect would be, from a player standpoint, getting called out in the media.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's not doing that, is my point.
Yeah.
All right. I promise, why are the players childish? Why are they soft?
I've been sitting here for the past 10 minutes just waiting.
I'll talk more about it, but I'll give it to you right now.
Okay.
Why in the world do you have time out of all this stuff and you're worried about getting your pictures off Instagram and unfollowing teams? Are you 12 years old and dating an 8th grade girl? I mean, what is going on here?
This isn't fair.
Why?
We're going to break and I can't respond.
We will next on ESPN 690.
Game of Thrones, the live concert experience, is coming to Jacksonville at Daly's Place on September 20th, and ESPN 690 has your chance to win tickets to the show. So head on over to the contest page at ESPN690.com to enter for your last chance to win a pair of tickets to the Game of Thrones live concert experience.
In an ocean of car dealers, there's only one Atlantic Infinity.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one with a summer sales event.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one fast, dependable service.
Follow the wave to the only one Atlantic Infinity.
And don't miss the summer sales event going on now at Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Pop quiz. If you sell a home for $500,000, how much would a traditional real estate agent charge in commission? If you guessed $25,000 to $30,000, you're right. But if you think that's the only way, you're wrong. This is why thousands of homeowners are making the switch to Rex. With Rex, you get a dedicated agent and a full-service experience at a fraction of the cost. Rex uses game-changing technology to cut out the middleman and save homeowners tens of thousands of dollars in fees. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. That's 833-REX-HOME. Remember, this is your home. Why give an insane amount of equity away to an agent? Rex offers the lowest fee in the industry without skimping on service. You'll work with a licensed local expert with you every step of the way. Get the most out of your home. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. 833-REX-HOME. That's 833-REX-HOME.
Florida, CQ 1057788.
There's a new NFL show in town, people. It's called NFL The Grind. It's every Wednesday night. It's on Epix. NFL Films produces it. My name is Rich Eisen. I host it. Highlights, features, every single week. What more could you want? The spiraling football from NFL Films? You got it. My commentary, the last word on every single week in the NFL before Thursday Night Football? You got it. NFL The Grind, only on Epix. If you don't have it, get the channel or the app. Wednesdays. Be there. I will be.
Sometimes for inspiration, you just have to look up. For more than 60 years, the Goodyear blimp has fueled greatness on the gridiron by providing aerial coverage of some of the most legendary moments in college football history. When the Goodyear blimp rises above a stadium, it inspires players to reach higher and rise to the challenge of the game's biggest moments. Now it's your turn to go further with Goodyear. Discover tires made to rise above the rest. Learn more at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, more driven.
Don't miss the ultimate land liquidation sale on Saturday, September 21st, and save up to 70% on all lake access home sites. Get 1 to 3 acres and a new barn-dominium shell from only $47,900. All roads and utilities are 100% complete, including clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, and more. All lake access home sites will be liquidated from only $14,900. That's right, only $14,900. To schedule a tour, call 888-GET-LAND or visit at 888getland.com.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
Really thinking that he might go to the Clippers just because we weren't hearing anything about the Clippers, and real G's move in silence, and Kawhi Leonard isn't.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do real G's move in silence?
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. Weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
I'm Doug Brown. There's a settlement today between the University of Louisville and their former coach, Rick Pitino. Lawsuits on both sides have been dropped. Pitino says he did so against his lawyer's advice. In the settlement, Pitino will get no more money from the school, but his firing 2 years ago will now officially be called a resignation. In spite of asking to be traded, cornerback Jalen Ramsey will play for the Jaguars tomorrow night against the Titans. Holdout Chargers running back Melvin Gordon tells his followers on Instagram that he'll be playing somewhere this season, saying it would be a waste of talent if he doesn't. The Cowboys are one of 9 teams off to a 2-0 start. Coach Jason Garrett says quarterback Dak Prescott is clicking with the offense.
Yeah, I just think that's an important part of our offensive philosophy. You want to be able to attack different ways, and some of that's running plays from the huddle, some of it's running plays from no huddle, some of it's staying in no huddle as you go.
The Cowboys host the Dolphins Sunday. A state senator in New York is proposing a bill that would require colleges to pay student athletes. Kevin Parker's plan would ask schools to divide revenues.
The satisfying crunch of Nature Valley Crunchy Bars can keep your family going, which means more outside fun for you. And with whole grain oats and real delicious honey, it's really tasty too. Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Bars.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jax.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anna Jar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
I mean, nobody plays the same defense every time, obviously, but, we go in each week as a staff, figuring out what gives us the best chance to win as a team. Obviously, that's the most important thing. With not only Jalen, but some of our other players, we kind of give them a heads up, usually on Monday nights. Hey, this is what we're planning on doing. This is where our major calls are. There's communication back and forth all the way. Bottom line for us is we're going to do what we need to do as a staff, as what we think as a staff that it takes to win the football game.
That's Todd Wash, Jaguars defensive coordinator, and part of that is play Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey will play Thursday night here in Jacksonville against the Tennessee Titans. And just to go back to what I said a minute ago before the break, I've decided now I don't like my boss. I'm mad at my boss, and I'm deleting everything from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter that I've ever put on there about my boss from a picture standpoint. What in the world are we doing? You star athletes. This is where your argument about the selfish and the soft and the this and that, this doesn't hold up with these guys. It's part of the social media world, but what in the world? Did Jamal Adams do it too? Is that what I read?
Yeah, Jamal Adams did it. I guess there's some kind of discrepancy in New York with him right now.
What is the play there, man? I mean, is soft in terms of mentally tough?
Oh, yeah.
Does it come into play? I mean,
listen,
I don't want to say that, and I know that's a dangerous word with football players, but Steve
yeah.
Lehman's on the phone. He's joining us from Nashville right now, and I think he got mad at me, and he deleted all his pictures from Instagram of me.
So, yeah, the whole Instagram thing
That's
deleted.
right. I muted and blocked you. Right. So, it's over.
But, come on. You're the former player.
Yeah.
This is odd behavior. This is weird. What is this?
It's odd behavior to delete pictures of your former team, yes. And it's odd behavior to go on Twitter and
it's
put
not your former team yet.
Okay.
You're on the team.
It's odd behavior to delete pictures of your team. It's odd behavior to go on Twitter and write cryptic messages where no one knows what the heck you're talking about. That's odd behavior. But you know what? Do you know what it does? People talk about it. It stirs the controversy. And if you look at the landscape right now, whether it's football players or, tweens or what do you want to call them, they love getting their narrative on them. They love to hear people talk about them. Yeah. And that's what we're doing right now, Brent. We're making it worse by talking about it.
Well, I know people always say that, and there are people like Antonio Brown I'd rather not talk about Steve Lehman. I'd just rather not talk about the guy, and I get that, and I'm kind of guilty of that. I'm like, well, let's not talk about him. Well, you got to talk about him. That's what people want to hear
that's
about.
What we get paid for.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's a confusing thing, but I'm so conflicted on today's athlete. I respect the heck out of them. I can appreciate their empowerment and branding and dollars being earned in the stuff they do, and they're bigger, better, faster, stronger than ever. But they do some weird stuff, Steve.
Oh, no question about it. And here's my thing with Jalen, and this goes to a lot of different athletes when they choose to speak out or use their social media voice or whatever, is I don't honestly know what he wants out of this. Is he really mad at Doug Marrone and that's it? And so he just wants everybody to know that he's mad at Doug Marrone? Does he hate Jacksonville and just unequivocally wants to leave the city and, that team and just go someplace else? I know he said otherwise yesterday, but it's very bizarre when you're requesting a trade 3 games into a season, and forevermore that's going to follow him, at least when it comes to the narrative about him and the Jaguars. So, but yet he's getting his name out there, and people are talking about him, and Jalen Ramsey this and Jalen Ramsey that, and he's a great, great player. And I've met him not as much as you guys have, but obviously people know he's a Nashville native, and we've dealt with him around here too. And I oscillate back and forth between thinking Jalen Ramsey is one of the smartest, most engaging athletes I've ever met and is calculated in everything he ever does, versus he shoots from the hip more than any person I've ever met in my life, and I'm not sure if he knows what the end game is here.
Steve Lehman with us from Nashville. And, Steve, I love that you just said that, because I might have just said that to Austin in the break, and I've said it countless times. He is complicated to me, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I agree with you. I have said countless times in his defense. First of all, I think people know I'm a fan of Jalen Ramsey. We don't see football players around here very often like Jalen Ramsey, and I appreciate that. And I don't mind even some of the stuff that goes on with it. That's fine. That's star athletes these days. That's okay. It's kind of fun to cover it. We get to talk about it. But I don't know how much is calculated. I think he's a very intelligent young man. I think a lot of it is calculated. But then there are times where I go with Jalen and say, I don't know if he knows what he wants to be. I don't know if he thinks sometimes he wants to be Deion Sanders. Sometimes he wants to be a great teammate. Sometimes he wants to be a leader but doesn't want to be a leader. Sometimes he wants to be a Jags player. Sometimes he doesn't want to be a Jags player. He is very confusing in terms of what he wants, and I'm quite frankly not sure he knows what he wants to be. And therefore, I say if they win and beat the Titans tomorrow night and they win and beat Denver and Jalen's still on the team, I wouldn't be shocked if he turned around and said, I don't want to go anywhere.
Right. No, I mean, that's exactly it. And I think to your bigger point, as you sort of started the segment about today's athletes, I think they're all, in a way, kind of like that, because their entire life in the AAU basketball circuit or growing up, people have told them how great they are. And if you're that talented, if you just have the gifts from God to be a Jalen Ramsey type of athlete, you have to work, yes, because it's your craft, but you don't really have to work for the other things. And so when you say, I want to be a leader, your entire life you've been given the leadership role. At Ensworth High School, Brentwood Academy, he was given the leadership role. He was just made to be the star player there, and everybody looked up to him. At Florida State, he was just sort of given that. And I think now you get to the NFL, and while he's still a superstar player, there's a level in the NFL where everybody's a star player when you get there, and you have to work. You have to be in the meetings. You have to be in the off-season program. You have to do that stuff to truly gain that type of clout within a locker room or a community or whatever. And I think too often these guys get to that point, and they've been given everything forever because they're just that good, and they expect to be given it again. And that doesn't happen like that all the time in the NFL. And, Jalen is certainly a unique case. He's a Pro Bowler. He's one of the best, maybe the best cornerback in the National Football League, but he brings some trouble onto himself that I really don't think he needs to bring.
Steve Laban with us from News Channel 5 in Nashville. Just to follow up your point, I think you said it at the beginning, but I want to make sure you clearly said I reiterate it, and because I wholeheartedly feel this way. These guys are talented. They do have gifts that are special, man. But they also work their ass off, and Jalen does work his ass off. I mean, that's fact. So I don't want to take that away from him. It's not about working. I know you didn't. I just want to make it clear. But you are at the same time. We talk about entitlement, and we were talking about this earlier in the show. There is a little different that Austin in the athlete today. I mean, that is a little bit different. Maybe it's the millennial age. I don't know. I don't read all that stuff, but it does feel like that people do prop them up a little bit more than maybe 25 years ago.
And not all guys, get back to Steve's point. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey has kind of been the front runner his entire life. There's another guy that's taken all the headlines named Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a walk-on at Central Michigan, and I have a hard time believing people told him, "Oh, dude, you're the man. You're gonna be fine." I mean, Antonio's a Brown who had to bust his even when he got to Pittsburgh because he was just a punt returner. I mean, he wasn't a star receiver that we know him by today. Now, yes, Antonio Brown has some issues and stuff, but that's not my point. I'm saying sometimes guys aren't cultivated in that environment where they're told they're the man. Sometimes they just become the man.
Yeah, and I don't think Antonio Brown and Jalen Ramsey's situations are alike.
No, not at all. But I'm just saying.
I mean, they're at a broad spectrum.
I'm just talking about the modern NFL athlete.
I agree with you. All right, Steve, I want to bring you in on this, and we're going to talk Titans in a moment. I hope you have a couple more minutes, but I'm keeping you a little longer.
Sure.
This news conference yesterday with Jalen. And I wanted to get to this part because a lot of people talked about the swearing. And I even put out there during our show and I said, hey, were you offended by it? Because I had some people text me, write me, direct message me, whatever, and say they were offended by it. And I said, listen, I got a potty mouth too. I was surprised that he did that. But I wasn't offended by it necessarily. I was surprised that he did it. So I had a lot of back and forth on that. Well, I'm watching it again. And there was a guy on Twitter today, someone on Twitter today that said, hey, I think that was planned. He wanted that to do that. So it would be sound bites and people would play it. And I have a little bit of a different thought, but it's along those lines. I was watching it last night back before I was doing some shows and just to see if we missed anything or trying to interpret it again. And then while I'm doing that, I see ESPN, all their late night shows playing all these sound bites. And I said, you know what? That son of a gun. That's why he did it. He's like, he knew that everybody in the world would take those because we all love that, right, Steve? We love that in our business when a guy swears or something and we have to use the beep machine. And so it feels more emphatic. It feels different. And they knew that. He knew that. He knew that ESPN would run with that. NFL Network would run with that. I think that was part of the branding. That's my take. Am I giving him too much credit? But I actually think that's why he kind of came out there and delivered some of these F-bombs and everything else and said, oh, yeah? People are going to hear what I'm saying. Even if it doesn't make sense sometimes, they're going to hear what I'm saying. And that plan worked if that's what he was after.
See, here's where I go back to my earlier comment, though, Brent, because before you said that, and I don't disagree with anything you just said. That makes a lot of sense. But before you said that, I was kind of thinking in my head, I feel like he purposely planned, I need to talk. I need to come out and talk about this story that everybody's talking about and save face, so to speak. But then he got out there with no plan and just shot from the hip again, and that's what you got. And I'm not saying I'm right versus you're right, but but that's the whole thing of Jalen Ramsey is, again, it's either he's a genius or he shoots from the hip too much, or it's a little bit of both. And my guess is it's a little bit of both, but it's hard because he did make every he was at the top of our sportscast yesterday. And as the Titans are about to play the Jaguars, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey and what his words mean. And some people think there's a chance he might end up here at some point. And it's a massive story everywhere right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry to cut you off there, but it's like he almost he thought about the first 2 or 3 minutes, but maybe not the rest of the 12, 13, 14 minutes, and how that would go. And it's hard to plan 15, 16, 17-minute news conference out. So I get your point on that. All right, let's talk about it. We got a big game here tomorrow night, and it's a huge game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I know Tennessee feels like it's a big game. It's an AFC South game. But he is playing. And what is the temperament of the Titans knowing all this is going on in Jacksonville? And by the way, knowing that, for lack of a better term, they own the Jacksonville Jaguars the last couple of years. There's no other way to put it. They have crushed the Jaguars, and I believe they're in the head of the Jaguars to a degree.
I think there's a thought within the Titans locker room, although they won't say it, that they believe that as well, Brent, because of the way the games have played out the last couple of years. I'll just tell you this. This is the Titans team that's coming to Jacksonville tomorrow. They're pissed off because they lost Sunday. They're relieved because they're playing anyone not named the Indianapolis Colts, because the Colts own them, level far greater than they own the Jaguars or anyone else in the league owns anyone else. So they're thrilled to not be playing the horseshoe on Thursday night. And then above all else, this is a massive game for them because when they won in Cleveland, they were the only team to win in week 1. They beat the mighty Browns that everybody was talking about. And then they looked at these 2 games in the span of 4 days within the division, and people were saying, you beat the Colts at home, you have a chance to go to Jacksonville and start 3-0, 2 in the division. The AFC South would have 1 win. That's not complete control, but that is certainly the driver to a division title in 2008. They are on the flip side. Colts here in danger going and losing 2 games, 1 and 2, and significantly behind the 8 ball early on in the season. So this is a Furman Titans team. Talk about all what's going on with Ramsey and all that. It reminds me a little bit of when they went to Cleveland. For different reasons, but there were a lot of distractions, and people were talking about the Browns, and you were wondering what you were going to see from them in week 1. And meanwhile, the Titans just kind of went about their business, and everybody was discounting them and discrediting them and saying, you don't have to worry about them. They're the same old Titans. They're nothing to worry about. And they go in and they just play solid football. And so that's the team I expect the Titans to be tomorrow night in Jacksonville.
They're a weird team because I'm much like everybody else, man. I never think Tennessee is that good. Go ahead.
Steve, well, let's talk about this Titans team that's coming to town a little bit, for tomorrow night's matchup here. And when I watched the Titans against the Colts, because, I had the Octabox going on. I had every game playing on my TV. Pretty sweet.
Octabox. Very nice. Good.
Man. Yeah. But
can you really garner anything from that, Austin? Because that's a lot going on. Like, how do you decipher what you're watching at one time?
Well, I'm not going to lie. So it's more fantasy football related. But the guy I was playing had Derrick Henry. So I was kind of keeping a close eye on the Titans-Colts game. But and here's the thing. Here's the story, with the Titans-Jaguars matchup and what I took away from the Titans-Colts matchup, where when the Titans come to town or the Jaguars go there, it's the same story every single year. And when the Jaguars lose, because they've done a lot of that to the Titans lately, you almost lose twice, because number one, you lose the football game, but number two, it's a physical, a hard-fought game that's won and lost in the trenches. So it's almost like a boxing fight where you get knocked out twice because, man, we just got beat with physicality. It wasn't like they're more talented. It's just almost like they wanted it more. Well, I saw a Tennessee Titans team take on the Colts, and I saw a little more passing than I anticipated. I saw a little more, of Derrick Henry maybe not getting as many touches as we're accustomed to seeing.
Out of the backfield a little bit.
Out of the backfield, yeah. So my question to you is, when Tennessee comes to Jacksonville tomorrow, are we going to see kind of this newer school Tennessee Titans offense where, yeah, they may pound the rock a little bit, but we could see the pass game as well? Or are we seeing the old school Jaguars-Titans matchup where it's won and lost in the trenches? Yes.
Austin, I think you bring up good. I'll say the Titans offense right now is much a work in progress. For the 5th straight season, they have a new player, Smith. And in week 1 in Cleveland, they looked genius. Last week when they put up points against the Colts, looked like a moron.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out what he's going week in and week out with this team. I will say this. Indianapolis put 9 at points to slow down Derrick Henry. A big reason why he only carried the course of the game is yards, but only had 15 carries. But when that happens, your quarterback has to make plays. He has to make plays on the football. Mariota didn't. So, your question, try to be physical. They are going to do exactly what you said, because I think is these two teams are mirrors of each other. They both want to run the football, and they have the best defense in.
Hey, Steve, take a step to your sorry to interrupt. Take a step to your left. We keep losing you. Either that or you're swearing a lot and we're beeping you out.
Oh, sorry about that. Each other, and they both that physical take it to. The Titans are going to trying to that game just like they have the last couple of years. Is whether they
All right, yeah, I think we lost Steve there. He was talking, obviously, he said mirror images of the team, and it's probably right on that front.
Yeah.
I tried to keep him going as long as I could. I tried to just hanging on to that. I think he was about to get it.
Anytime you talk about the trenches, Brent, I get excited, man. I'm talking about, stopping the run and running the football.
You know what's funny is I envision Steve right now, Steve from News Channel 5 in Nashville. He's probably like in his sports office, and in our sports office, it's a dungeon.
Really?
There's like no cell reception.
Yeah.
So I'm picturing that's probably like if I was calling in to his show, like that could certainly happen. Mm-hmm. Either that or he was on a battery-operated phone and like Duracell was going out.
Well, I thought my headphones were going out. I'm like, is anybody else hearing this?
Didn't it sound to seem like that? Like my headphones are going out?
Yeah, I kept checking them. But I think
I get the picture of what he said. I can piece it all together, and we appreciate Steve Lehman coming on. We'll talk more about it on the other side. And Maurice Jones Drew joins us in just a few minutes as well. We got to take a quick break. We're late to the break. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 rolls on. Thanks for hanging with us.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Partly sunny today. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms developing, shifting in more inland by late afternoon. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. Join me beginning at 5 p.m. for CBS 47 Action News Jax from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds that guarantees you a $500 gift card if they can't beat anybody's price on a diamond.
Honda of the Avenues is the Honda Giant with close to 700 new Hondas and quality pre-owned vehicles and award-winning service department. Jacksonville's car buyers have options and they want your car shopping experience to be fast, fun, and hassle-free. That's what you'll get on every visit, every time. Put Honda of the Avenues to the test and let them show you a fresh new approach to car shopping at Honda of the Avenues, online at HondaofTheAvenues.com. The Honda Giant.
Hi, I'm Tom Van Berkel, CEO of Main Street America and chair of the 2019 First Coast Heart Walk. What if every step you take could save a life? When you sign up to attend the 2019 American Heart Association's First Coast Heart Walk on Saturday, September 21st, you'll be supporting scientific breakthroughs that keep more healthy hearts beating. Visit firstcoastheartwalk.org to register for this free event where every step you take brings us closer to ending heart disease and stroke. The First Coast Heart Walk takes place at Metropolitan Park and will feature fun activities the whole family can enjoy. By joining the First Coast Heart Walk, together we can save more lives by making cardiovascular research possible. Research that created the first artificial heart valve, research that can save children's and adults' lives, and research that gives us more time to create lasting memories with loved ones and friends. Be a Heart Walk hero and register today at firstcoastheartwalk.org because we're just steps away from a healthier tomorrow.
The First Coast Heart Walk is sponsored by Main Street America Group, Mayo Clinic, and Florida Blue.
It is the home of the Action Sports Jax Dream 18, and it can be your golf destination. The Golf Club at Southampton. Hey, everybody, it's Brent Martineau. The Golf Club at Southampton is where I play a lot of golf, and you can too. Enjoy your golf experience by calling 287-PLAY. Play some golf, watch some football, and oh yeah, food. They've got that too. Southampton has it all. Even a special tailgate catering menu. Give Lisa a call for your tailgate catering. 287-PLAY for tea times, football, and food at the Golf Club at Southampton.
The Jekyll Island Shrimp and Grits Festival is back. Enjoy coastal cuisine, live music, a craft brew fest, kids zone, artist market, and more September 20th through the 22nd. Learn more at jekyll.island.com/shrimpgrits.
Are you an aspiring small business owner looking to develop your own company? Are you already in business but needing to find ways to grow revenue by attracting additional customers? If so, then come speak to one of the highly trained counselors at SCORE. Since 1964, SCORE has helped more than 11 million current and prospective entrepreneurs through mentoring, workshops, and educational services. Schedule your free and confidential mentoring session at one of 6 counseling offices in the Jacksonville area by visiting jacksonville.score.org.
What's up, North Florida poker fans? This is Allie McDeal from both Best Bet Card Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. The World Poker Tour returns to Jacksonville September 27th, and there's no better time to lock up your seat in the main event than right now. You will find satellites into the $5,000 buy-in main event for as little as $120. Satellites are going on now. Get ready to take your shot at $1 million prize pool in the WPT main event. For more detailed information, visit them on the web at bestbetjax.com. Best Bet, where anybody can win.
The First Coast Hispanic Chamber of Commerce invites you to the 4th Annual Hispanic Heritage Gala, where it will award 10 deserving local college students of Hispanic descent with the Achieving the Dream Scholarship. The Black and Teal Affair is sponsored by the Jacksonville Jaguars and will take place at TIAA Bank Field Friday, October 11th. For ticket information, sponsorship opportunities, and scholarship donation, call 904-707-1374 or visit fchcc.com.
Hey, what in the name of Lester Jackson are you doing?
Oh, hey, boss. Well, since these folks are out of town, I figured I had time to make a Sammy.
You what?
Yep, it's a peanut butter banana sandwich, just like Elvis.
Wait, when are the owners of this place getting back?
Well, the social media account says tomorrow around noon, so relax.
Huh. Well, don't leave a mess. That would be rude.
Boss, how is it possible in this day and age that folks like this don't have safe touch security?
Beats me. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, from the two-way communicator to the crash and smash technology to video monitoring.
Hey, if these folks had safe touch, we wouldn't be within a mile of this place.
And that's why we live by the Crooks Are Us motto. Stay away from safe touch houses.
Yeah. Hey, pass the bread, will ya?
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Talking to Chris Long, have you at all had any itch about playing again?
I'm not going to lie, I get the itch from time to time. If I ever got an opportunity that was right for me, and I'd look at it.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. The Jalen Ramsey saga rolls on as it seems unlikely that the Jags will trade the embattled corner before tomorrow night's game. Here's what ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter thinks it will take to get a deal done.
The issue here is that you have to compensate the Jacksonville Jaguars and then give Jalen Ramsey a huge new contract extension. Jalen Ramsey wants to be paid. That's a part of any trade that would happen. When the time comes that Jacksonville has received what it believes is a fair offer, they're going to trade Jalen Ramsey because he wants out, and I think they'd like him out.
And Ramsey isn't the only Jaguar making a splash. Rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew was offered an endorsement deal worth up to $1 million from an adult website. As part of the agreement, Minshew would guide and live stream an exercise class in the nude or only wearing a jockstrap. Sorry. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Now, back to Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and in the iHeartRadio app.
You know, I think, man, we're hungry every week. You know, if last week there was something we thought we could do better to win, you know, we would have done it. So, you know, we're attacking it just like we have been, but that sense of urgency is definitely there.
Well, Minshew has that QB speak down, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
hit all the hot topics there.
Hit all the cliches.
Yep.
Hit them all.
That's a bingo right there.
Yeah, that's the way to handle it, man. That's the one thing I do think gets lost this weekend. I don't know if it's beneficial or not, but with all the Ramsey stuff going on, and you talk about distractions, does it help a guy like Minshew that's kind of isolated in his own little world and nobody's really bugging him and bothering him because everybody's talking about Ramsey and he's taking all the attention away, or does it hurt because he's got to lead a football team in his second NFL start and now on a short week against a divisional opponent, he's got to try to get ready and all this stuff's going on around him because maybe the coaches and people in the building and everybody else are distracted. I don't know.
Well, the most important part you said is not necessarily that fact. It's the short week like you brought up.
Yeah.
The fact that this is a short week helps the entire team because instead of getting asked about what do you think about Jalen Ramsey leaving now? What do you think about Jalen Ramsey leaving now? Well, it's Wednesday, and we play the Titans tomorrow. So we don't have time to dwell on that a little bit as players, as a team. So I think from that perspective, on the offense and the defense, it helps having that short turnaround.
What a dynamic we have with Jalen Ramsey and all this going on. And then we have Minshew Mania, Minshew Magic, and Jockstrap. Oh, yeah. Something.
Like the jockstrap workout.
What is?
I was gonna have this on my Ballin' and Fallin' segment, but
Ballin' and Fallin' would be appropriate right now.
Yeah.
For so many, never mind.
I mean, the story here
I just
is
didn't say it. That was John Bachman.
the story
About the same
here
thing, though, John. I was right there with you.
is that he did this in Washington, where he used to stretch in the locker room in just a jockstrap, which, by the way, could maybe be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But he's brought it, apparently Leonard Fournette says he's brought it to Jacksonville, which means you talk about being comfortable in your own skin, being a rookie in an NFL locker room and stretching in a jockstrap.
And to be fair, like when I heard, okay, so if you were to tell me that a player back in college would stretch out just in his jockstrap and whatever in the training room, oh, he's definitely an offensive lineman. Like that's an offensive lineman thing, you know. No offense, offensive lineman, but y'all some grimy guys. You know what I mean? Every offensive lineman I played with, whether it's high school, college, or in the pros, there's some grimy dudes there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think the leader of my team, the quarterback, the general of my team, would be doing that. But
This is why I say he's like Brett Favre, man. This is classic. This is so. How can you not love this?
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for the Ramsey thing, this would be just outstanding. This would be the talk. It is the talk of the town, as you mentioned, kind of as a sidebar. But, I mean, this is fantastic stuff. And if I could continue on the Sunshine Rainbow Club for a minute, I was looking at the schedule. You guys probably already talked about this, but I took a minute during the afternoon meeting today. Don't tell the bosses. But I looked at the schedule.
A lot going on.
And I said, look at the schedule. After all we've been through, if we could sneak away a win tomorrow and project a loss against the Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints, which is maybe a 50-50 proposition, we could, even with a loss there, we could very realistically, looking at who we play, be 5-3 at the halfway mark. 5-3 at the halfway mark. That's with a loss against New Orleans.
I looked closely at the first 6 games, and I thought 3-3 in the start of the season is something that would be fine. Now, I think you're right in terms of the perspective of, well, the Titans, you get them on Thursday night. If you can win this game, next week Denver doesn't look very good, and Carolina's got problems with Cam Newton, and Drew Brees isn't going to play for the Saints.
Then you get the Jets.
So the Jets in Cincinnati.
Yes, the Jets in Cincinnati.
And so, I mean, if you
listen,
here's the deal.
John, you're absolutely right.
Listen,
man.
I am the owner and president and founder of
I
the
know
Sunshine
you
and Rainbows
are.
Club.
I know you are.
But I got to get one W before I buy 3.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, like, after all we've discussed this week, and as down on it as I was, as I'm sure everybody has been at some time, you sit back and you look and you go, that is not outlandish to think.
Well, no.
The team on paper anyway is good enough to do that.
Imagine
very
Nick
easily.
Foles.
Well, and then the stars are aligning, right? I mean, you talk about Drew Brees being out.
That's right.
Cam Newton, we don't know where he's at right now. He may be out. We don't know what's going to.
The Jets have a quarterback.
Well, that's the thing. Sam Darnold's got mono. Like, we all had that girl in grade school that had mono. She was out for like a year. Like, you just didn't see her for a year. And now I'm saying Sam Darnold's immune system is probably a little stronger than that girl that we all had in grade school. Am I wrong though, John?
No, you're right. You're right.
You remember that one
Those
girl?
people did disappear for a while.
It's
real.
I was going to come back and like, who's
I
this
thought
person?
they moved away.
I was thinking it was college, but maybe it was high school.
No,
all
I
right.
mean, it was grade school for me, man.
All right. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, John Bachman with us from CBS 47, Fox 30. Maurice Jones Drew coming up in just a moment or two. But it's a decent way to look at it, which really looked like a daunting early part of the schedule. I do have to remind you guys, though, Jacksonville's without their starting quarterback, too. And it would feel a little bit different with Nick Foles. And I love the Minshew stuff, but I'm still a reality check guy on the Minshew stuff. He's a backup quarterback, a rookie quarterback, a 6th-round draft pick for a reason. And although it's been fun, and he's actually played very well
but
at
how
times.
many rookies stretching their jockstrap? Isn't that what you just said?
How many get? What did he get an endorsement for?
They offered him $1 million.
Well, let's go ahead and tell the story. So Cam Soda, which I just typed in on the browser, and guess what? It got blocked, so I can't get into it. But basically,
So
it's an adult website.
Yes.
And they offered him $1 million-ish to do workout videos.
Ish being the operative word.
With in his jockstrap, basically. And it's for $1 million.
Dude, would you say yes?
Would you do that, Austin Lane?
I would do it for a steak dinner. $1 million? You kidding me? Dude, I'm comfortable with who I am. $1 million? Yeah, what do I sign? Let's go. We can do it right now in the studio, dude.
Oh, please, let me leave.
Let's stop this train right now.
But by the way, you might need to have that steak dinner because you just got fired for putting that in the website browser.
Hey, you know what? No,
I was wondering what the suits were doing walking down the hallway.
I was testing the blockers, and they worked just fine. I could not get on the website. Nice job, Cox Media Group.
All right, we got Maurice Jones Drew coming in. What you got coming up tonight on CBS 47 and Fox 30?
One of the bizarre stories we're working on out of St. Johns County. So check this out. There was a car that was stolen, and deputies are chasing it. They pull out the stop sticks and all that stuff. They stop the car. Four people run. 2 of them get caught. Well, then the other 2 decided that stealing one car apparently wasn't enough. They go and they managed to rummage through 24 other cars, stealing guns, including some big rifles. They even, I think, stole another one of the cars. But here's the kicker of all this, and maybe this is the message for everybody. Lock your cars, man. Every single one of the cars they got into was unlocked. One of them had the keys sitting right there in the console.
JSO tweets every night about locking your cars because most of the things get stolen with unlocked cars. And by the way, I've been guilty of that for a long time in my life.
Oh, I'm the same way.
You guys, why don't you lock your doors?
But now I do.
Because I'm from Iola, Scandinavia, Wisconsin.
Fair enough, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
You know how we lived up there. Yeah.
I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and I lock my doors. But anyway, so lock your doors, and especially if you have guns, don't leave your guns unattended in a car. And JSO to Brent's point, they talk about that all the time. A lot of the crimes are committed with these guns taken right out of these cars that are unlocked. Come on.
Yeah. All right, John Bachman, CBS 47, Fox 30 tonight, 5 o'clock until 7 o'clock. And then we have Jaguars All Access coming up on Fox 30 at 7 o'clock.
Time for some pizza, right?
That's right. A little pizza at Mellow Mushroom in Avondale. And I'm buying Maurice Jones Drew's pizza tonight. I'm just going to do that, nice guy, as he will be on Jaguars All Access tonight. Maurice Jones Drew in town. Maurice Jones Drew on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 right now. What's up, man? Hope your flight was good.
Flight was awesome. But I'm still trying to figure out, how do you not lock your car, guys? Like, what are we doing?
Well, listen, man, we didn't grow up in Oakland.
Yeah, you're a little more seasoned. I guess I'm a little more seasoned than some.
Sorry, fine folks of Oakland. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. It just was it was a softball for me. Hey, Maurice Jones Drew, how many times did you ask for a trade while you were a player?
I asked one time. I think it was when I was holding out that we couldn't come to an agreement. And there were some things said, and I kind of was like, hey, if this is the way you feel about me, maybe we can work something where I can go somewhere else. And so obviously that didn't happen. But, it's funny when I heard what Jalen Ramsey said, like, this is where I'm going to talk about it obviously tonight on All Access. But you cannot trade Jalen Ramsey. I don't care what goes on. You will never find a player like that. And then what people have to understand is that coaches coach, players play. And as a coach, your job is not only just to diagram plays and all these things, it's also to manage personalities and expectations. And I think that is something that is lost in the art of coaching. Some of the greatest coaches, and Bill Belichick is a really good one, right? And people talk about how they do things different. No, he goes out and gets talent, and he finds a way to manage all those expectations. When he had Randy Moss, when he had Wes Welker, and he had all these different guys that had personalities, he found a way to manage their personalities. And I think that's important in this whole situation is that there is no bridge burned. Arguments happen all the time. I mean, Austin, how many times are we getting arguments on the sidelines during games? Like those things happen all the time.
Of course.
You have to find a way behind closed doors to mend this thing, because there's no way that you could trade arguably the best corner in the game and expect to win. And we're seeing that with Pittsburgh right now when they let go of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, thinking that addition by subtraction, that doesn't work. There's no way. And we're seeing that in Miami as well. Like, you can't trade away pieces and let guys go and then expect to win, because at the end of the day, on the football field, the most talented team has the better chance to win every week. The healthiest team has the better chance to win every week. And so you got to find a way to keep him and make this thing go.
That's well said, Mo. And listen, and I've been a big proponent of this, and we both play on different teams and everything like that. And I can't stand the narrative where Jalen Ramsey's this giant distraction, right? Like, if I ask somebody, well, has Jalen Ramsey been arrested? No. Has Jalen Ramsey beat anybody up? No. What's Jalen Ramsey's distraction? That he went to a GQ magazine and told how he felt about some quarterbacks, and then he had a tirade with his head coach on the sidelines, which happens, every once in a while in the NFL. It happened with Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels a couple years ago, where I thought they were going to come to blows. But my point is, we keep saying distraction. But those players in that locker room, Mo, they're not worried about the distraction, because when they go on the field, they're going to go to Jalen Ramsey and go, hey, man, go ahead and lock down Hopkins for 40 yards, whatever it is, 50 yards, and we'll do our job. I feel like the term distraction and being a detriment to your team is so overblown these days in the NFL.
You're exactly right, Austin, and it's so funny. So, Brent, I'm really involved with my kids in their sports, and I coach. And I got into a little argument with one of my coaches on the sideline on Saturday, because I wanted to put a kid in, and he was like, it's not his turn to go in, but I was like, yo, we got to get him in. After that, the kids saw us, like, we raised our voices, but there wasn't a, face-to-face type of thing like you saw on Sunday. But then one of my kids, I went to pull him out, and the kid told me no. Right? and so in this situation, what do I do? Do I berate the kid? Or no, like, I just call timeout. I brought the kid over and said, hey, listen, man, like, it's your turn to come out. You'll go back in the game later. But as a head coach, and this is one of the most important things that I can say, and then granted, look, when you're on the sideline, things are heated. I mean, I remember getting pulled out of a game, matter of fact, I remember after my knee surgery against the Tennessee Titans, they pulled me out and they were like, we're done giving you the ball. And I was like, what are you talking about? We're in a tight game. We gotta play. And I was so upset because there's so much going on the sideline. You're all, gassed up to play. And Coach Del Rio pulled me to the side, and he's a former player. And he was like, hey, man, you're out, period. And I turned around, I was like, why? I was like, I thought we were here to win. He goes, we are here to win, but I said, you're out. We were going back and forth. And so finally I just said, all right, whatever. On the next day, we went down, me and him talked for like an hour and a half in his office. And he was like, listen, we have a plan for you. And then finally I could understand, but it's hard to take yourself out of it. And I feel like the media, and me being part of the media, we see, Jalen and Doug Marrone on the sidelines yelling. The first thing goes, oh, you got to get him out of there. He doesn't respect the coach. Like, no. They're both competitors, and they're both pretty much. They probably were trying to do the same thing on the sideline, but they were just coming from different sides of the fence. And you have these skirmishes, you have these blow-ups. Also, you talk about the GQ magazine. Like, what is that? He's just talking. That's not a distraction. That has zero to do with anything. And I think you said it best, is that when you're on the field, I know what he's going to give me on the field every day of the week.
Yeah,
I know that if we put him on whoever.
Yeah, the last thing. No, you're good. The last thing you're talking about in the huddle, when the middle linebacker's giving you the call or the coverage or the front of the formation, the last thing they're talking about is, hey, remember when Jalen Ramsey talked about Matt Ryan? Hey, do you remember when Jalen Ramsey said Josh Allen was trash? Like, the players forget about it. It's just, and like I said, Mo, I'm with the media too, man. So I'm right with you, right? And it falls on us as well. But I feel like we blow it up so much when it doesn't have to be blown up, because I guarantee in that locker room it's not that big a deal.
But guys, let me ask you this: Maurice Jones Drew, by the way, with us, of course, former Jags, great running back, will be on Jaguars All Access tonight at Mellow Mushroom in Avondale. Come on out, say hello. You can watch the show 7 o'clock on Fox 30, and we'll talk more about it as well. But here's where I've got to disagree with you guys a little bit, in two fronts. And Austin doesn't see it this way as much as we've talked about the last couple of days. I saw a player put his hand on a head coach. I think there's got to be a line somewhere along the way. I don't know if anybody in New England's done that to Bill Belichick. Now, it wasn't a violent thing, but it was a hand on a coach I saw on TV. And then the other part of this is, well, they could have all had these communication things and everything you guys are talking about, but he went in there and asked to be traded and get the heck out of here. He's the one that's brought all the attention now to that. He's the one that said, I want to get out.
Yeah, but does that mean you have to let him out?
Oh, I wouldn't let him out either. I'm all for him staying in here. You got to make it work, but now you've got an unhappy player, and unhappy players aren't always a great thing inside a building.
Well, let's go. Why is he unhappy? Brent, me and you have talked about this. What is the major cause of his unhappiness?
He doesn't like the scheme. And he doesn't like the no. He doesn't like what the organization has done in terms of paying other guys. That's what we've talked about. Yes,
and that is, and Austin and anyone else here can talk about it. And this is why the locker room dynamic is so important. And everyone in our world goes this anytime. If you're working wherever and you're putting in a ton of work and you're excelling, and someone that's not performing as high as you is getting paid more, you're going to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I don't care if it's the same position. I don't care if it's a manager, an employee. I don't care. However it goes, you're going to get upset. And the locker room is the same way. You can't continue to pay guys and then not play at a high level and not pay the guys that have played well for you. You can't do that because it ruins your locker room. I'll go back to when we were in 2007. I think it was Khalif Barnes and Mike Peterson were coming up close to having a deal done. And we didn't pay either one of those guys. But we decided to pay Jerry Porter, and we decided to pay Drayden Florence.
Yep, a lot of money.
And what happened, Brent?
Yeah, it blew up. That was a bad locker room.
And that's what happens. Is you can't just pay everyone. You just can't pay guys just to pay guys. They have to earn the right to be paid. And I remember sitting in that locker room in 2008, probably halfway through the season, like we had a window. We were hitting our window where everyone was talking about that 4 or 5 year window or 3 or 4 year window where you can go to the Super Bowl. But you have to make the right decisions in the front office and as players too. We have to protect ourselves. And not paying our left tackle, granted he has some off the field stuff that was going on. Not paying him, and for sure not taking care of Mike Peterson, who was our defensive captain, and going out and spending money on guys like Jerry Porter who got hurt and didn't play well and caused some distractions, like some real distractions. Right?
Oh, he was awful. You don't have to say it, but I'll say it. He was terrible.
Right, but what I'm saying is like Drayden Florence didn't really play up to par that year.
Nope.
Like those guys, that's what ruined us was that we all looked at these dudes like you brought them in when we had other guys that were getting paid that need to get paid. I'm still good friends with Drayden Florence, but I'm just saying like those things happen.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so when that's the fallout of all this. It has zero to do with him liking the situation. I think he said he's like, I love the city, right? Which this is strictly a financial issue that is just now being they're saying he doesn't like the scheme. And scheme has nothing to do with it. He's been in this scheme for the last 4 years. So that has nothing to do with it. It comes down to you not compensating him the way that you should, and then compensating others in free agency who haven't showed up.
And then, Mo, I kind of want to piggyback off that a little bit, too, because we were talking about a locker room. A big thing yesterday during that Jalen Ramsey press conference was the fact that Myles Jack and some other players were there. And it was almost like they're in support of Jalen Ramsey. And, there's one side that says, well, Jalen Ramsey's getting ready to leave. Why would Myles Jack be there? Because Myles Jack just got paid, and, he's supposed to be like the future going forward for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm trying to explain, yeah, Myles Jack may be the future, and maybe he may have just got a brand new contract, but he still supports Jalen Ramsey. He wants to see Jalen Ramsey be successful if he's with Jacksonville or somewhere else, but he wants to see Jalen Ramsey make that money. And I think sometimes when you don't pay your star players like that, that echoes in the locker room a little bit, and that's how you can lose a team.
Well, Austin, it's the same way. It goes back to the Chargers, what they're doing with Melvin Gordon. And it's the same thing. Players always want to see other players successful, especially ones that are playing at a high level. Regardless of what Jalen says in the offseason, regardless of what goes down, when he's on the field, that is the most important thing because he produces and he covers the top corners. He may struggle, or the top receivers. He may struggle against some guys. He may give him a play here or there, but for the most part, he's locking stuff down. And I think Myles Jack going there shows you that the locker room supports him. And other guys showed that the locker room supports them. And so when you're running an organization, and granted, this is what I'm learning this right now from working at the NFL Network, because it's hard to do it when you're a player, right? Because you're in it, and you're trying to win each week, and there's a bigger picture, right? There's a bigger picture. But the nucleus of that picture, the middle of that picture, the most important part of that picture are the players in the locker room. I think I heard Coach Del Rio talk. He was on ESPN. He was like, you don't want to set a precedent. I do. I do want to set a precedent. If you're balling like you're supposed to, you know what? I'll tear your deal up and redo it, but you better be making plays day in and day out. That's the precedent that I'm going to set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to look at it as negative and say, oh, well, the precedent is he has 2 years left. And no, because not everyone on your team is Jalen Ramsey.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
Not everyone on your team is Yannick Ngakoue. Not everyone on your team is Myles Jack. But if you play like those guys, guess what? I have no problem getting this thing done. Because at the end of the day, what is the number one goal at the end of the day? Winning a championship.
Yeah.
And so if I can get more guys to play like those guys and play at a high, consistent level, the better chance I have winning, the better chance that for me, I'll be able to pick. I mean, look at the Cowboys, what they did with Ezekiel Elliott. He had 2 years left on his deal. But you know what? Jerry, as much as the holdout was and how they were going back and forth, Jerry understood that in order for us to win, 21 has to be in the backfield, period. Because we've seen the Cowboys without 21 in the backfield, and it wasn't pretty.
No,
I want to say they might have won like 1 game out of 6 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It wouldn't have been good. Maurice Jones Drew with us, former Jags great running back, will be on Jaguars All Access tonight at Mellow Mushroom in Avondale. You can see that on Fox 30, but we love you to come out to Mellow Mushroom in Avondale, be a part of the show. I'm going to let you go in a couple minutes, but you just said you told us earlier in this conversation that you did ask for a trade one time when you were going through the holdout stuff and it wasn't working out. What are the logistics of that? And is it just a simple phone call from your agent? Is it pretty simple?
Well, I think there was a statement said, I can't remember exactly, but when we kind of, my agent put out like, well, you know, there's 31 other teams, or I don't remember exactly what was said. But once that goes out, teams will start to call.
Yeah.
Right? To check to see if, hey, are you serious about trading the person? If they say yes or no, depending on how it goes, teams will then start to talk and they'll start to negotiate an offer. Now, once they come to that offer, I want to say there's a couple teams that traded a 2 and a 5. They were talking about a 2 and a 5. The Jags, I think, 1 and a 1. At that point, a 1 was pretty high for my price, I guess. But the Jags didn't like the offers they were getting, so they decided not to do it. I think the Jags now are asking, from what I'm hearing the reports, what I was seeing was like 2 firsts.
2 firsts, yeah.
That's not enough. It's not enough, because in the next 2 years, I don't see a corner in college right now that's Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
No, it's
right?
Listen, he's the best. He's one. You were one of the best players to ever play here. I have already said Jalen Ramsey is one of the best players to ever play here, and he's only been here for 4 years. And on top of that, Mojo, I say, other than you, he is the most nationally branded Jacksonville Jaguar of all time. And quite frankly, and all due respect to you, I think he's already passed you by in that regard.
Well, hold on, Brent, hold on. You know, I'm on TV every day. You don't do that. No, I'm just messing with you.
You got to be in the uniform,
you're
man.
exactly right, though.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's at the end of the day, you can tell someone's worth when people say, like, we'll go to Antonio Brown with the whole thing that went in Oakland. When they cut him, there was literally 11 teams or more that tried to go and get him once he was cut.
Crazy.
That tells you your worth. As wild as everything that went down that happened out there, 11 teams still wanted him, which lets me know that talent trumps all that.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you have a talented player like Jalen Ramsey, you cannot. But, and I get it, because with, Nick Foles, he goes down, and, I think the young player, I'm not going to say his name because he went to this other school that's in the pack. We try not to use their names. But he looks promising, as if he may be able to get you a game or two. But you don't have to play defense. You don't have to play, you don't have to win these 13, 14 games, which you're going to have to do. But how is that going to happen? And let's also remember, A.J. Bouye was out this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
He's questionable this week.
And you still hold Hopkins to 4 catches for 40-some yards?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying, like that to me tells me how elite this player is, and that how many teams that are calling you right now. And I don't know who's calling because I'm not in the building. I try to get in there today, but my code doesn't work. So you may be right. There may be a more high-profile guy. But no, I'm just lying. I'm going up there later today. But it may be. It just, to me, players win games. Yeah. Players win championships. And when you have great players, you never let them out the building. Never let them out the building, especially if they're homegrown.
Well, let's quick be honest here, too. We're talking about Dave Caldwell. We're talking about Doug Marrone, whose jobs are on the line right now, who have to win games. The last thing you want to do is let your best player on that entire team go someplace else for some draft picks, because guess what? Those draft picks aren't going to help you win games this year when your job's on the line.
Austin, football is very simple. I used to tell people this all the time. It's checkers, not chess, right? Like literally just if your pieces are better on the board than the other team's pieces, you have a 90% chance to win, right? Because you have pieces that can execute your game plan better than the other team can. That's really what it comes down to. Now, there's coaching comes into the scheming part of it, but I go back to my game this past weekend where I was coaching. We played a team and we had a great practice and we're throwing the ball all over the yard. And I'm like, yo, we're about to be like the old Colts back in the day. We're going to air this thing out. And so, I mean, guys are running open, but guess what? We had the dropsies, right? So we ended up winning the game 7-6. But at the end of the day, I was like, yo, this game plan, at least I thought it was perfect, but we just couldn't execute it. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 9 and 10-year-old football or if it's in the NFL. Yeah. Players win games, and I'm learning that as we go. Like we're always learning to get better. You need players to win games. And so I told our little kids yesterday before I left, I said, coach is coach, so we're going to do our best to coach you, but it's up to you guys when it's time to go out there and execute and do the best that you can do. And so that's one of the things that we have to understand is that coaches are going to coach their butt off. Yeah, you're going to be here all night studying, but you need to make sure, and I think Coach Wash said it best, like, people are like, yo, like, I'm ready to go to fisticuffs to keep Jalen here. Like, yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah.
You need players like that, and if you can continue to draft players like that over and over again, it'll change your franchise.
All right. Hey, we got to let you go, and you got to go. What's the name of that team, by the way, that you coach?
The Ceremony T-Birds. We're 2-1 right now. We're trying to bounce back from a tough loss a couple weeks ago, but we'll be good.
Come on, Vince Lombardi. We got to get you some wins there. Let's go.
And Mo, I'm not sure what the age groups
I may
are.
run the wing tee.
Hey, Mo, I'm not sure what the age groups are, man, but I have a 4-year-old right now who's super tall and super lanky that's looking for a spot to play in a couple years. So maybe I'll give you a call.
Listen, if you ever, I mean, the thing is, I'm on the other side of the country, though. So, we can keep them and take care of them. We'll start an academy or something, get them going.
Let's get it.
Hey, you got to answer this in like 10 seconds. Can this work, or is it done in Jacksonville with Ramsey?
Oh, it can work because it's real simple. You have to go in there and say, you first have to sit down and talk and understand where each side's coming from. And then at the end of this year, you need to pay him. That's the only reason it's going the way it's going, is that he doesn't feel appreciated in this locker room. Very simple.
Maurice Jones Drew from the NFL Network, former Jags great, and he's going to be on TV with us tonight on Jaguars All Access, Mellow Mushroom in Avondale. Come check it out, or you can watch on Fox 30. Hey, man, that was awesome stuff. Good perspective. We appreciate you taking the time.
All right, no problem.
All right, Maurice Jones Drew checking in on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. A lot to digest from the former Jags running back who was in a somewhat similar spot years ago and did ask for that trade. I kind of want to ask for a trade of something.
From here?
I don't know.
What's up, man?
But
Is that how you feel about us?
I just want to ask. Like, I really don't want to be traded. I just kind of want to. It feel like kind of fun to do that.
Well, I think you just want to know your value, right? Everybody wants to know what their value is. Yeah. Well, go ahead and ask and see what happens,
I don't know. My key card still works. Gotta be valued at something.
It'll just be me and Kuz running the show, and that'll
Kuz is so mad at us because we're so late to commercial, but it was worth it with Maurice.
Sometimes you gotta go with the flow, man.
Sorry, Nick. Boss man Nick.
Oh, he's gonna be upset.
Sorry, Kuz. Yeah. We'll be back right after this.
What's good, Stephen A?
If you're a New York Jets fan, let's just say this. Damn, you can't catch a break. I mean, the New York Jets, when's the last time they've been relevant?
Catch Stephen A. weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Vida de Louis, a locally owned tequila right here in Jacksonville, wants to help our friends in the Bahamas. Hey, everyone, this is Austin Lane.
And I'm Brent Martineau. Vida de Louis is one of the smoothest tequilas you'll ever taste. It's made in Tequila, Mexico, and shipped directly to Jax Beach. But Vida de Louis has friends all over the world, and that includes in the Bahamas. Help us raise money for the Treasure Key Relief Fund and Hopetown Rising.
Check out Vida de Louis on social media and the website vidadelouis.com.
50% of all merchandise will go to these funds. Please help Vida de Louis help the Bahamas by going to vidadelouis.com.
Coral Reefer presents Jimmy Buffett and the Coral Reefer Band, son of a sailor, High Tide Tour 2019. One night only at 5-Star Veterans Memorial Arena, December 10th. American Express card members, get your tickets now through Sunday, September 22nd at 10 p.m. Before the general public on sale Friday, September 27th at 10 a.m. For tickets, visit Ticketmaster.com. Performing as part of the American Express Concert Series. Supply is limited. American Express terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Honda of the Avenues is the Honda Giant with close to 700 new Hondas and quality pre-owned vehicles and award-winning service department. Jacksonville's car buyers have options and they want your car shopping experience to be fast, fun, and hassle-free. That's what you'll get on every visit, every time. Put Honda of the Avenues to the test and let them show you a fresh new approach to car shopping at Honda of the Avenues, online at HondaoftheAvenues.com. The Honda Giant.
What happens when your alarm system gets triggered? Let's say you're at work and your house is getting broken into. You want the police called, right? Well, that only happens with a Safe Touch security system. You heard me, right? Yes, the law states that if an alarm is not verified, the alarm contractor must call the key holders before calling the police, giving the crooks plenty of time to clean out your home and have an easy getaway. But the Safe Touch two-way communicator verifies the holdup in just seconds, allowing the Safe Touch operators to dispatch emergency authorities in seconds. Also, providing valuable information to the authorities. Customers also receive an instant text verification as well as live video of who's in your home. This video can be transferred to the police, giving them a huge advantage in the war on crime. Don't just think you're safe, know you're safe. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now and receive a free color listen and talk camera and just $5 extra for storage. Get the Safe Touch Advantage now at safetouch.com. License number EF233 with approved credit, terms and conditions apply. Locally owned and operated businesses give our community character by offering unique options for shopping and dining.
They are a big part of what makes living in the 904 so great.
Shop the 904.
Powered by Cox Media Group.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick & Wingo. You're listening to ESPN 690.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. Hall of Fame coach Rick Pitino reaches a settlement with the University of Louisville. As part of the deal, Pitino won't get any money, but his firing 2 years ago will now be called a resignation. The FBI college basketball fraud and corruption investigation uncovered allegations of payments to a recruit's family. The Saints aren't naming a starting quarterback yet for Sunday's game against the Seahawks. The two candidates are Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. Drew Brees is having surgery on his right hand today in Los Angeles. The Ravens are 2-0, and quarterback Lamar Jackson is putting up great numbers in the air and on the ground. ESPN's Greg McElroy.
I would not be surprised at all if this continues. I just want to make sure he does get his carries from time to time, but doesn't get exposed to getting hit. Because that's when you get hit a lot, that's when the accuracy can start to slide a little.
Greg McElroy on Golick and Wingo. Pirates closer Felipe Vasquez admitted to Pennsylvania State Police that he tried to have sex with a 13-year-old girl. Vasquez now faces multiple felony charges in Pennsylvania and Florida.
Brought to you by Little Caesars, where you can get a large extra most bestest stuffed crust pepperoni pizza for only $9. And only at Little Caesars, plus tax where applicable. Available at participating locations.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station. Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jax.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Jalen and I have always had a good, open relationship where we've always been able to talk. And we sat down yesterday. We talked about, what's going on as far as he and I. And, it's like anything else in this profession. It's behind us now. His focus is on playing and doing the best job for his teammates. My job is being able to do the best job for the team. So, that's behind us right now.
Well, that's Doug Marrone just a short time ago talking about the Jalen Ramsey situation, and Jalen Ramsey will start tomorrow night against the Tennessee Titans unless he's wearing a different uniform by then, but I don't think that's the case. It doesn't sound like it's headed that way. And Maurice Jones Drew, by the way, was fantastic the last half hour. And, I always feel bad. I asked Maurice to come on for like 10 minutes and before we get Jaguars All Access tonight at Mellow Mushroom in Avondale. You can watch it on Fox 30 at 7 o'clock, and then we keep him forever. But he was so good and really good. And I like the player perspective and the player side of it and hearing him talk about it. Now, I get a little tired of you guys always defending players on every topic. I will say that.
Okay. Well, we're important, so. I mean,
no, but he was,
I get what you're saying,
I'm just
dude.
kidding
I know
around.
you're kidding.
I would like, and that's why I do bring up, though, and I think it is fair to bring up the fact that he has asked for a request at this time.
Yeah.
I do, this is what I would have liked to talk, and I'll talk to him a little bit more about it tonight. But, is there a time and place for it? As a player, and with all due respect to you, Austin, you were in a different situation. Coming in as a fifth-round pick, battling for spot, battling for make the team. Maurice Jones Drew will go down as one of the best players in franchise history. He had some leverage. Jalen Ramsey.
And he's making a lot of money.
Jalen's
making a lot of money.
That's right.
I'm waiting for Cam Soda to offer me a deal for a steak dinner to do some stretching in my jock strap. I know there's differences.
But I just
levels to this.
But I do wonder, though, is there if you were in that situation, is there a point where, say, Maurice can be right and you can be right on 99% of that stuff, but is there a time and a place and a line that can be crossed on it? And I think it's fair to ask the question, has Jalen at all at any time, and maybe this week, and with the timing of it, with what he did on the sideline, with how he's reacted to some things, has he crossed that line at some times?
Is there a time or a place? I mean, good question, but you got to ask yourself the same question. Is there a time or a place to pay a guy some money? Because contracts get negotiated throughout the beginning of the season up until the end of the season. Now, I've been adamant. I'm saying this whole Jalen Ramsey thing, I don't think it's just about money. I think it's more about the front office and that culture of the team. Well,
and Mojo's right on the money about that. He is. We've talked about it in the past.
Mojo brought up a great point when he said, if there's guys that are making a lot more money than you are, they're getting these new contracts and they're not performing to their best abilities as the star player, as the best player in that team, that frustrates you. And that's going to trickle down to the players that follow you. For example, let's go back in time a little bit here. Who have the Jaguars offered big contracts to? You got Brandon Linder, who's a captain of your team. Now, I'm not saying Brandon Linder didn't earn that contract, but he's getting paid like he's the best center in the NFL right now.
And let's be fair. I've covered these signings.
Yes.
And people raise their eyebrows at that. They're like, is he the best center? And now since then, in fairness, now this is hindsight. Mm-hmm. They're investing early to try to get a better deal, in the long run. He's no longer the highest paid center, I don't think.
But at the time he was.
At the time he was. They're investing in and gambling a little bit, much like you do with a draft pick. Mm-hmm. And this is a little bit of a defense of the organization. When you had a lot of money, they had a ton of money at that time to throw around. And what they didn't see coming is him being hurt and not playing a full season really at all since then.
Yeah. Let's go with Andrew Norwell. Andrew Norwell is a guy you throw a lot of money at.
A lot of money.
And I'll be honest, I don't know the dude, nothing against the guy, but when I watched that Houston game, I saw his back turn twice. And when you're getting paid that much money as one of the top guards in the NFL, you got to perform like one of the top guards in the NFL. Blake Bortles, another prime example. And the Blake Bortles is a little more tricky, right? Because he was the quarterback of the team that led you to an AFC championship game. But at the same time, if you go back through his history, if you go back through some of the plays that he made, I mean, if I'm in that locker room, maybe I do raise my eyebrow a little bit and say, Blake Bortles got this brand new deal. He got this big deal. And I'm just saying, it just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. Now, yes, they made some good calls. I think Calais Campbell, anybody agree with me, was a great signing.
Yeah.
I think when Malik Jackson was here, I thought that was a pretty good signing as well. So it's not like this. The front office or whoever's running the show is completely inept. I mean, there's been some smart calls too. But I'm just saying, when you're talking about a player being dissatisfied, the best player in your team being dissatisfied, all these things start adding up. And like I said before, it finally blew over on the Houston Texans sideline.
Yeah. Do you think? I said this a little bit yesterday as well, but. All those signings that you're talking about, again, it was a different place and different time where they had the dollars. They did. They had a lot of money, this organization did. And they actually held it too long, in my opinion, because they weren't spending. Then they finally said, okay, it's time to spend. And they did that. And you have to give them credit for going to that AFC Championship game because they did a little bit what Denver did. They hit on those free agents, Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson. The reason they were good is because some of those free agents were good. So it isn't all bad. I know everybody likes to paint it like it's all or nothing. And like you just said, it's not all bad. But there are certainly some curious ones if you're sitting in the situation of Yannick Ngakoue and Jalen Ramsey right now. And I just want to make it clear, and I think Maurice Jones Drew brings up a great point. We have discussed this before. I kind of answered the question wrong when he asked me, but we have talked about it. And it's not necessarily, now you piece it all together. Jalen Ramsey said yesterday, yeah, my money will come. So it's not about his contract necessarily. It's the fact that the organization has made these questionable moves, and on top of that, are now wrestling with signing Yannick Ngakoue and not signing him right now and giving his money. So there's it's not just one. It's kind of a two-parter.
Yeah.
And it starts not necessarily, I don't think. Now, Jalen would be the only one to answer this. It's not necessarily even about Jalen, the first part of the sentence. The first part is what you just brought up, Norwell, Linder, Bortles, those kind of guys. Well, look where we are. We're 0-2. We've lost 2 out of the last 4. We've won 2 out of the last 14 football games. And oh, by the way, I still haven't got mine, and I'm making Pro Bowls, and I'm an All-Pro, and I'm shutting down DeAndre Hopkins. So that's what MJD said.
Yeah.
And I get it.
But let's be honest with this 2-point here, Brent. Where from that Jalen Ramsey press conference yesterday, we took a lot of things away from it. And we took that. He kept saying what? He's a team player. He cares about the team. He cares about the team. He cares about the team. Miles Jack being there and other players being there to support him would support that statement. Now, whether he was telling the truth or not, we don't know. I'm taking him at his word for it because I think he was speaking truthful. So I'm going to assume that Jalen Ramsey cares about the team because he's the best football player in that locker room, and I think he wants to be successful. So let's say he cares about the team. Well, Brent, I've been on this show adamant about paying Yannick Ngakoue for how long now? I mean, it's literally right behind you.
It's still there. Pay on.
There's a giant cutout of me.
Well, we have tight shots now, so you can't see it. But
there's an aggressively giant-sized head cutout of me and the speech bubble, pay on. And that's been there for probably 2 to 3 months now.
Wow, I feel awfully close to you right now.
Yeah, well, as you should.
I feel like I'm dancing with you.
As you should. I'm obviously leading that dance. Don't get it twisted. So think about this, though, Brent. If that's me saying it, listen, I cover the Jaguars. I'm going to cover them whether they win or lose. Now, yeah, I played on the team and I'm a fan, but I haven't been here since 95, right? I'm not in that locker room. And if I'm saying they should pay on, and granted, I'm not a GM, all right? I don't know how the numbers work.
Yeah, well, you and Maurice and everybody else, all players would pay everybody. That's a little bit of your problem.
No, okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
You want to pay everybody.
Okay, well, I want to see Jan get paid if I'm on the defense, and I think, what did Jalen say during the press conference? He said pay Jan.
He did. Yeah, he vouched for him again.
So there you go. I mean, if you're at your own press conference and you think that, you know what, I may not be here next week, I may not be here tomorrow, and you're still adamant about saying, and it just comes into your mind because this speech had to be generic. This wasn't pre-planned because you could tell. And if he says pay Jan during it, well, maybe then they want to see Jan get paid. I don't think it's just Jalen Ramsey that wants to see that.
Yeah, a couple quick things. Brian BCC on Twitter says, one of the best interviews, by the way. Getting players' perspective is always valuable here. And MJD said he thinks he can be salvaged is positive. But if we're being honest, Caldwell and TC are too proud, right? And I responded back and said, I don't know about the last part, but appreciate the first part. And he wants to know if it can be salvaged. Maurice Jones Drew said he thinks this situation can be salvaged. I did kind of hint at that a little bit because I said if they win tomorrow night and they don't have 2 first-round picks on the table, maybe this isn't as drastic as everybody's making it out to be over the last 48 hours, and he's got to be gone. Because I think fences can get mended here. I think it changes day to day. I think it changes game to game. Outcomes change. Now, if they lose and they're 0-3 and it doesn't look good, it might even be more reason to get out. But it seriously could depend on that. Well, and I'm not kidding about that.
No,
it could depend on
man.
a win tomorrow night. And then maybe even they haven't made a deal by next week and they win in Denver. Like these next 2 weeks, it could really depend. And immediately it could depend on a win tomorrow night, whether this thing can work out and things can get repaired or if it's done and the ship has sailed. I haven't adamantly said this guy's definitely out of here. I don't believe that because I don't think anybody's offering 2 first-round picks, bam, just like that. I think that will take some time.
Yeah, and, winning is the ultimate prescription to calm a locker room down, to get everybody back on the same page. Winning solves everything, man. When you're losing, that's when you got to point the fingers. That's when you start questioning, well, why aren't we doing well right now? And we've seen it come to a head. I mean, we've seen all the stuff going on right now. Yeah, I agree with you where this, for a random Thursday night game against Tennessee and Jacksonville for the 100th time, thank you NFL Network, this might be one of the most important games in the Jaguars franchise.
At least in 2019.
Yeah, because not only from a winning standpoint, but I agree with you. I think that if this team loses, I think not only are we talking about Ramsey, but you got to seriously start considering maybe the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, and I brought that up yesterday. I said, is there a situation where if they get waxed tomorrow night, that Shad Khan starts thinking about the only way to salvage the season is maybe to make a change?
And here's the thing about it. Coaching is going to have a direct correlation of how the game goes tomorrow. Like, yeah, you're going to call your schemes and everything. You got a game plan. But make no mistake about it, Brent. We know what's going to happen during this game. Both teams are going to line up in the trenches, and whoever's the more physical, the more intense, whoever wants it more is probably going to win this game and makes the less mistakes. And when I talk about those things, those fall on coaching.
South Beach Gary, you got about like 20 seconds. I know you've been on the line a long time, but we're up against it. What you got?
Well, the bottom line is, all this with Maurice Jones Drew, they're 2-14 the last 16 with Jalen Ramsey in the lineup. And the other thing is, guys, he says, don't trade him. If you lose him to the free agency, you only get a third-round compensation. Wouldn't it be better to get a first and whatever than have the guy lose anyhow and just get a third round? To just say, oh, well, keep him. If the guy doesn't want to stay, you get what you can for him.
Yeah, and it just depends how toxic it gets for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Jalen Ramsey. And I don't know if it's there yet. At least Marone and Ramsey talked yesterday. And once again, Ramsey will play on Thursday night. Coming up next, I'm interested to hear what this guy has to say. Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post.
Oh, man. Yeah,
he comes on every week, but he also reached out on social media.
Maurice Jones Drew taking the player side. Well, Brent had to go to the bullpen, put out the bat signal, and now here comes big Ryan O coming to take your spot.
Don't frame me like I'm against players. Don't do that.
Dude,
don't do that.
I work with you because you do respect the players. Don't get it twisted.
But I got to give both sides of the story.
I know. Oh, we're getting another side coming up next. I can't wait to hear what Ryan's got to say.
He's coming up next. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
A few brief showers lingering early on, otherwise fair to partly cloudy overnight tonight, dropping to around 70 degrees from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
Shoelace is a dolphin. How about that? Denora Robinson joins us on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Hey, man, this is pretty cool news.
But it's exciting just to be back around football again. So,
Action Sports Jax, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
I'm Thea Jeffers, owner of Breezy Jazz Club and T-Works Interior Decorating. It doesn't matter where you come from, it's possible to own your own business. But starting a business isn't easy. The Jacksonville Women's Business Center helped give me the confidence to keep going when the going got tough. At JWBC, I got the training, networking, and support I needed to help me reach my goals. To find out more about how JWBC can help you, visit jaxwbc.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Family, food, and football. Renna's Pizza checks the box on all three. Family-owned in Jacksonville for more than 40 years. Fresh ingredients every day. And you're home for football all fall. Watch the games and dine in at Renna's 5 locations. Or let Renna's help with your football get-together. A menu to satisfy the entire family's appetite. There's a Renna's Pizza near you. Marsh Landing, Bay Meadows, Argyle Forest, San Jose, and the newest location in Neptune Beach. Family, food, and football at Renna's Pizza.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy sex, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Rush to Walmart and get Ageless Male tonight.
If you're looking to propose or just looking to get her something to show her how much you love her, right now at Beard's Jewelry, take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing.
But hurry, this offer is only good until September 30th at Beard's Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center.
Say hello to your new secret advertising weapon, your own branded mobile phone number. Star Mobile provisions vanity mobile numbers prefixed by Star, providing audiences an easy way to reach your business. Give it a try now by dialing Star Mobile from your mobile phone. That's Star Mobile.
Pop quiz. If you sell a home for $500,000, how much would a traditional real estate agent charge in commission? If you guessed $25,000 to $30,000, you're right. But if you think that's the only way, you're wrong. This is why thousands of homeowners are making the switch to Rex. With Rex, you get a dedicated agent and a full-service experience at a fraction of the cost. Rex uses game-changing technology to cut out the middleman and save homeowners tens of thousands of dollars in fees. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. That's 833-REX-HOME. Remember, this is your home. Why give an insane amount of equity away to an agent? Rex offers the lowest fee in the industry without skimping on service. You'll work with a licensed local expert with you every step of the way. Get the most out of your home. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. 833-REX-HOME. That's 833-REX-HOME.
Florida, CQ 1057788.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Family, food, and football. Renna's Pizza checks the box on all three. Family owned in Jacksonville for more than 40 years. Fresh ingredients every day. And your home for football all fall. Watch the games and dine in at Renna's 5 locations. Or let Renna's help with your football get-together. A menu to satisfy the entire family's appetite. There's a Renna's Pizza near you. Marsh Landing, Bay Meadows, Argyle Forest, San Jose, and the newest location in Neptune Beach. Family, food, and football at Renna's Pizza.
How many jewelry stores ask you to shop around? Beard's Diamonds wants you to see the selection and pricing other stores have to offer. Why? Here's Ben from Beard's Diamonds to tell you.
Because at Beard's, we are so confident in our diamond prices. So confident that no other store can touch Beard's prices. That we're willing to give you a $500 gift card if you find a GIA certified diamond for less anywhere in North Florida. Yes, you heard right. A $500 gift card. No need to second guess your purchase. Beard's Diamonds guarantees to make sure you get the absolute best price. Remember, our prices can't and will not be beat on our huge selection of GIA certified diamonds.
Do yourself a favor and shop around. Make sure you're not second guessing yourself, but always compare their price to Beard's Diamonds.
We will never be beat.
See the difference. Save thousands. Beard's Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center or at beardsdiamonds.com.
Shop the 904.
This holiday season, shop local retailers right here in the 904.
When you shop local retailers, you're making an investment in our own community.
When you shop locally owned businesses, most of the money you spend with them stays right here in our community.
Locally owned and operated businesses give our community character by offering unique options for shopping and dining.
They are a big part of what makes living in the 904 so great.
Shop the 904.
Powered by Cox Media Group.
Game of Thrones, the live concert experience, is coming to Jacksonville at Daly's Place on September 20th, and ESPN 690 has your chance to win tickets to the show. So head on over to the contest page at ESPN690.com to enter for your last chance to win a pair of tickets to the Game of Thrones live concert experience.
Hi, I'm Mike Mills from REM, and this is Action Sports Jax.
Welcome back here, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Kuz on the phone. I was trying to talk a little sign language to him. I didn't know if we were going to hear from somebody, Marone or Minshew or Boye, or we've heard from them already.
We have heard from them a little bit, yeah.
So we've already done that, and right now I know who we're going to hear from. We're going to hear from Rhino Haller, and former Jags beat writer from the Florida Times Union, now the Denver Post, covering the Broncos. Hey, they stink. What's up, Rhino?
I tell you what, boys, next week is going to be Clash at the Titans.
What's going on in Denver, man? How upset are they? They can't score.
They can't score, and more alarming, and what has the fan base more up in arms is no sacks, no takeaways through 2 games. This is a team that has very little margin for error, and when you're not pressuring the quarterback and not creating short fields, you're going to have those low-scoring games, and ultimately you're going to have 2 losses like they have already.
tough start for Vic Fangio, of course, in that regard. I mean, you talked, too, about, obviously this defense, people love it around here in Jacksonville and across the league. I think it's well respected, but Bradley Chubb's supposed to have a monster season. Von Miller's Von Miller. That is a good defense to have 0 sacks and 0 turnovers. Wow. That's pretty incredible. What is wrong with that? Are people game planning around that? Are those guys a slow start? What's the deal?
Well, they like to tell you that the teams are throwing really quick, and they are, but they're just not getting there. When they do have a 5-step drop or they try and extend the play. I mean, Mitch Trubisky on that 4th and 15 had 5.5 seconds to survey the pocket and hit A-Rob for 25 yards and set up the winning field goal. So it's and the other thing is they haven't had a lead. They've been playing uphill. That impacts the pass rush. And when you get into 3rd and shorts, you got to sort of be disciplined, play the run on the edges instead of maybe going after the quarterback. But if I'm Vic Fangio next week against the Jaguars, I put Bradley Chubb right over Andrew Norwell and say, go eat, big fella, because that guy is overrated.
Yeah, well, and overpaid, and that's obviously a part of our conversation. Well, before we get to the Jags and the Ramsey and other things around the NFL, which, by the way, we have been swallowed up by the Ramsey conversation, and there's a lot of things to it. The NFL, it might be one of the most wackiest starts to a season from a headline standpoint we've ever seen. So I want to do some quick hit stuff. But in Jacksonville, the 2-point conversion on Monday, before all this Ramsey stuff, was a huge conversation. Should they have gone for it? Did they call the right play? Well, meanwhile, in Denver, the Broncos did a similar thing. It worked. They ended up losing the game, but it worked. Give us the temperature of what it was like there. They moved it a little closer after the penalty, but they still threw the football and converted. Give us some backstory on what happened there with the 2-point conversion and why Vic Fangio did it.
Well, I'll try to be as succinct as possible. They tie the game. They score a touchdown, 31 seconds remaining. They're down by 1. He sends out the team offense for a 2-point, delay a game. He sends out the point after. They missed the kick, but Chicago's offsides, half the distance from the 2. They throw it. They don't finish the game, but I think universally you applaud Vic Fangio's decision. And this is why I think Doug Marrone tried the same thing. You look at the schedule. You say, okay, maybe 6 or 7 chances to win a game this year. Go win one and take advantage of that opportunity. And I think Vic coached that Chicago defense the last couple of years. He knew that in overtime, then marching down the field was not going to happen. So do that. See if you can steal a win, get the 1-on-1. I like the play call for Denver. They went Manuel Sanders pass. I like Doug Marrone's decision to go for 2. I would like to see the ball stay in Minshew's hands, get him on the run, see if he can score that way. Very tough to score on a 2-point conversion with a run up the middle.
I know you were in Jacksonville for a while. I don't think you ever had 100% agreement, but I think everybody agrees with you on that. On the Minshew front.
All right, let's just start.
Hey, I said that, or I didn't even say you were coming on the show on Monday, but you tweeted at us and said, make sure you ask me about this on Wednesday or whenever we get on. So here we go. What do you make of all the Jalen Ramsey stuff?
I think it's a disgrace. His behavior has pretty much been disgraceful since the day he was drafted. Every year, it's been something with him. And I would move on from him. I know that's going to upset the people at Big Cat Country and all the fans who think he's actually an elite player, which he's not, or else he'd be winning some more games. I'd ship him out of town. I'd start the rebuild with what you can get. I don't think they're going to get 2 1s because I don't think he's that highly thought of in this league, especially with the contract demands he's going to have. I would not play him tomorrow night. I wouldn't even allow him in the building tomorrow night. I'd say you're deactivated until we trade you. Go home. And, I think that the mistake a lot of fans are making on Twitter is Shad Khan is not choosing Doug Marrone, Tom Coughlin, and Dave Caldwell over Jalen Ramsey. He's not, because those 3 guys, their status is tenuous going into the rest of the season as well. All these guys could be gone next year. And that's one thing I made clear is, okay, what's Shad's vision for this front office in 2020? Who will be making the picks that they could receive for Ramsey? So there are a lot of other dominoes that have to fall. But, if Doug Marrone, the coaching staff, feel like this guy is giving other players bad ideas, I think you send him off. You have no intention of re-signing him. You allocate that money toward Ngakoue. You have a defense built behind Miles Jack, Yannick Ngakoue. If it will work, don't know. But you get 2 of those 3 signed, you get something for Ramsey, and you move on.
Hey, fair to say, Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post with us, covered the Jags for a few years, covered Jalen Ramsey. Fair to say, and I don't want to label this. I'm just asking you that you have not been a big fan and big advocate of Ramsey. You just mentioned not an elite player. I wouldn't agree with you there. I think he is an elite player. I think he is the top couple of corners in the NFL, if not the best corner. Why do you? So, two-part question. You're not a big fan, and also, why don't you think he's elite?
Well, I don't like the way he's treated people in that building since the day he arrived. And, you can yell at me all you want. You can yell at Philip Heilman all you want. We're big boys. We can take it. But, I don't, if you're going to rip your coaching staff, you're going to, rip your quarterback, et cetera, that's not becoming of a leader. And thankfully for the Jaguars, he's not wearing a captain C. And, my thing about paying a corner $20 million, which is what he's going to try and command, how much does a guy like him change the game? You could say he cuts the field in half. Well, this is a half-field throwing game a lot of weeks in this league. So you just throw the tight end, throw the back, pick on the other corner. So, I think his baggage and his reputation is going to be, exposed by what the Jaguars can't get for him on the trade market.
Yeah, by the way, I love you, Rhino. I think Austin loves you, Rhino. But I think he's shaking his head, too, so we can always disagree. Why are you shaking your head?
No, absolutely. I respectfully disagree because you talk about how, the corner – isn't that big of a position, and Jalen Ramsey is one of the top corners, and he hasn't won a lot of games. Well, to prove the point of not winning a lot of games, Khalil Mack, when he was in Oakland, didn't win a lot of games, and he went to Chicago and absolutely changed that culture around, and all of a sudden the Bears were a contender. Now, yes, Khalil Mack is a pass rusher. It's a different position. But if we look at the history of the NFL, whether it's the Seattle Seahawks with Richard Sherman, whether it's the New York Jets who had Mark Sanchez at quarterback, but they had Darrelle Revis playing, corner, taking away that field, whether it's Stephon Gilmore shutting down the Rams offense to 3 points in the Super Bowl, history has shown us that you do need an elite corner to shut half that field down, especially in an offensive happy, pass happy league now.
Well, I'll grant you that point, but I don't think he's a guy who changes a culture. I would be very wary of putting him in a locker room with anybody. That's sort of my rub and also, people would say he just wants to win. I don't think he cares. The first thing he mentions yesterday during that pathetic press conference, I shut DeAndre Hopkins down. Well, you still lost the game. And, and you're complaining about, he was just looking for a fight on the sidelines to challenge a 3-yard completion. There are tons of previous straws. If I'm a Jaguar fan, I'd be concerned whether this front office knows how to capitalize on what the return would be for a player like him. But if they deal him, it's not because of the man. They feel like they just need to get rid of him.
Yeah. Listen, respect the thoughts, good thoughts. I'm not saying we all have to agree on it either. And I will say this, from the I want to win stuff, I think we have to be careful that Jalen's above everybody else in terms of being a competitor. I say this about you, man, Austin. I say to play at the level you guys played at, you have to be a competitor to a place that I can't get at. I'm a competitor. I don't like to lose, but I can't get to that point. I haven't got to that point. That's a different kind of competitor when you're a 1% athlete, when you're playing professional sports. But it's not just Jalen Ramsey. I think as everybody in that locker room wants to win. It's a little bit – it's not just Jalen that wants to win.
And listen, I don't know Jalen as a person. Like I said, if I called him up right now, he would know who the heck I am, and that's cool with that. But we've also had teams in Jacksonville that I've been a part of who are nothing but stand-up guys, who respected everybody, who were great in the community, and guess what? We won 3-4 games, and they were horrible seasons. I would rather deal with the distractions of maybe this guy isn't the nicest person to maybe like a guest, like a desk worker, whoever else, or maybe he's not the nicest guy to the media, but if I'm his teammate, I know when I go on the field with him what he's given me. And at the end of the day, that's the matter between wins and losses.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see which teams are interested, because it's going to have to be a team with a strong locker room and a strong personality head coach, being a veteran head coach. Talking to a couple of guys in the Bronco locker room today, the only team they could think of is the Chiefs. And as one player said to me, I wouldn't give up a one for him. I just treat him as a 2-year rental. Yeah. And that's the other decision teams are going to have to make is are you prepared to have a big chunk of your cap taken over by a player that is mercurial? Kansas City wouldn't be that team. They got to be banking on $40 million a year for Patrick Mahomes. Miami shouldn't be a candidate because they're trying to get that number 1 pick, and he may actually win them a game this year. So So I don't think they want to go that route. They want to. I think a team like that would be a candidate in the offseason. And I think from one last point on the Ramsey thing is I laughed out loud when he said, I don't want this to be a distraction. Well, as soon as he made that call on Sunday, it was going to get out. This is a 32-team league that gossips more than people at junior high lunchroom. So that's not a surprise. But I think his play should have been, hey, let this season play out, and then work the trade market during the offseason where there's a lot of teams that could be interested. They have the cap space to be interested, could meet with their coaches, vet this situation, and then maybe even get permission to talk a long-term deal with these guys. Things are happening really quick in terms of, hey, trade, contract, or trade, play out the option. Is he going to be happy doing that? I think there's a lot of moving parts here, and it's not a surprise it hasn't happened yet. But if I'm the Jaguars, I think it's a big risk playing him tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and how quick. And we talked about that a lot on the show already. I don't believe this. I would not be surprised at all if he's here for several weeks in Jacksonville. I don't think anybody's just throwing 2 first-round picks. So you bring up a good point. He could be setting the table. Even if he doesn't get his way right now, could be setting the table for an off-season move, an off-season trade of some kind.
Well,
go ahead.
And that makes the next 3.5 months uncomfortable.
I know what that makes the next 3.5 months, man.
Yeah, and well, it'd be good for radio. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing about the Jaguars is, do they look at something they want in return? Do they want a first-round pick? Do they need a player that can help them be competitive right now? And I'm not talking playoffs competitive. I'm talking about being functional on defense.
Yeah.
Because clearly, AJ Boye is not going to be right for a while. You know, who knows what his future is? So, do you want a corner that can help you now and can be a building block for 2020, so you're not painted into a corner with the draft next year of having to take a corner?
All right. Hey, I want to keep you. Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post. Appreciate all the thoughts on Ramsey. A different point of view. I love it. I love the different point of views that we've got on this topic, from social media to everybody we've had on. But there is a lot going on around the NFL, man. I mean, how wild is this? This does feel a little bit more and more like the NBA, from the Antonio Brown to the Jalen Ramsey off the field stuff to Eli Manning being benched, Cam Newton. What's his status? Is he almost done? And all the dropping of quarterbacks, Big Ben, Drew Brees. This is wacky, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quarterback attrition and bad officiating, and those are two unfortunate storylines. You didn't even see Eli Manning got benched, so that 2004 class has taken a hit. But it shows you how physical this game is, how sometimes the offensive line play is a little leaky, and in the Brees' respect. But also how important it is to have a backup quarterback. And so that's going to be something to follow. I mean, you look at all the guys who are just broken down already. Secondly, the officiating. You have all these head referees that are in their first year. They are calling this game by the letter of the law, and that's going to be a mistake. They got to make some judgment calls on these things, like the roughing the passer and maybe offensive holding, which is at a record clip so far in 2 weeks. So, I'm sure on Park Avenue in New York, they're saying, okay, people are talking about the wrong things, not including Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. So it's, maybe the attention shifts back toward the field, but it doesn't look that way for at least a little bit.
All right, one last one for you, okay? How are the Patriots and the Chiefs as good as they look? I mean, and can they sustain being that good? And are the Dolphins as bad as they appear?
I never thought I'd see a team in this era worse than the 2013 Jaguars that started 0-8.
We covered that one closely.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact they won 4 games the second half season is just a testament to guys just sort of caring and not mailing in. The Dolphins are just look a ton worse. And, they can't even get a first down. They can't even score a touchdown. But I think where the Dolphins are different than that Jaguar team is they at least had some chips to trade. All that Jaguar team had was Eugene Monroe.
Yeah.
And because nobody else really wanted their other veterans. So Miami, I think, does have a better chance of fast-tracking it if they're able to make the right picks. Patriots and Chiefs. Chiefs defense still can't stop anybody. And that's the concern. That's why New England has been impressive so far. They're actually stopping people. They're not even giving up garbage time touchdowns, which is what they used to do a lot when they got up by 35 points. So, I think these two teams in the AFC are on a collision course toward early December in Foxborough, where they could be playing for AFC home field and a potential rematch in January.
Ryan, what 0-2 team right now, in your opinion, has the best chance of making the playoffs? The Panthers, Giants, Redskins, Broncos, Jags, Jets, Dolphins, or the Bengals?
Wow, good question.
Well, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of 0-2 teams, first of all.
Yeah. Sorry for kind of putting you on the
do you want-
spot.
give 'em
I
to 'em
probably
again.
should have sent you an email first.
Yeah. Like, send me that text message. Give me 10 minutes to think about it. Best chance.
Give them to him again.
I'll say it one more time for you. So we have the Panthers, Giants, Redskins, Broncos, Steelers, Jags, Jets, Dolphins, and the Bengals.
Gosh, they might all stink.
I mean, they all are not good.
Yeah.
But to pick one, maybe the Steelers with Fitzpatrick maybe can boost their defense. Maybe that veteran offensive line can rally around Mason Rudolph. This is a big one for them in San Francisco on Sunday. The 49ers won twice on the East Coast. Maybe the Steelers can go out there and steal one. I think there's going to be a lot of black and gold at that stadium. So if I had to pick one from that group, it's going to be the Steelers. But, I mean, even those other teams, Austin, a couple of them are going to be 0-3.
Yeah.
And then you're really in dire straits. I think this is a very top-heavy league right now, which you hope that if that continues, you're going to have a hell of a playoff.
Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Good stuff all around, and we'll talk to you again next week. Have a good weekend.
All right. Take care, fellas. Thanks.
All right.
See you, man.
Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post, used to cover the Jags, now covers the Broncos. One thought there, and we got to get going to another break, and we'll get some phone calls in and a lot more to get to, man. Can we go an extra hour today?
That's what I'm saying.
But everybody's been great. It's been fun. It's
Overtime.
been a great conversation. I want to keep it going. But that was an awesome question there, and I never even thought of it going into all these 0-2 teams. But I think there's a lot of not-so-good teams there, and this is going to sound really homered up. I get it. But I would think some people would pick the Jags given two things. One, the fact that Minshew has looked pretty good in relief, and they do get Foles back at some point. So if he can tread water at all and find himself a few wins, he might be able to hold the fort for a bit, even given all this other stuff. And then the other one, maybe the bigger one, is they play in the AFC South.
Just
and the
gonna say
AFC
that.
South is a pillow fight.
Yeah.
Until somebody proves otherwise, it's a pillow fight.
As opposed to the Steelers, who I think would be a lot of people's favorites. You got to keep in mind, yes, the Browns may or may not be the real deal yet, but the Ravens look like the real deal so
They do.
far.
And people do think Cleveland could emerge,
Yes.
even if they got off to a slow start. Even with a win, they didn't look great the other night. All right, we have the happy hour horn right now. Let's get to that. Vita de Louis always sponsors our happy hour horn, and we are late on the happy hour horn, but it's always a good time for a drink.
It's always happy hour.
Y'all don't make nobody come between us. Y'all make nobody come between us. Oh, cherry baby.
Let's declare this party now begin. See the beautiful ladies marching in. There's enough for everyone to win. We're gonna make this party the best thing happening. This is my favorite place. Nothing will replace, no. Nothing. Anything goes. Gangsters rolling, half face smiling. Heads up, think of the rhythm what you're drinking. Anything goes. Hey.
Grab a drink, get a shot, sip your Star Tenders, and grab an extra chin strap because it's going to be a physical game tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it will be. Vita de Louis recently got a 94 rating, and it's a locally owned tequila right here in Jacksonville, and they want to help our friends in the Bahamas, so help them out. Vita de Louis has friends all over the world, includes the Bahamas. Help them raise money for Treasure Key Relief Fund and Hopetown Rising. All you have to do is go to VitaDeLouis.com. 50% of all the merchandise will go to these funds. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, your comments, a call or two, and appreciate you hanging on the line. But I want to get your thoughts and a big picture question about the NFL that I want to at least get off my chest. All right. And I wonder about where this is going. I got to get it in. I'm going to get it in.
You can get
when
it in,
we
man.
come
This
back
is a safe space
on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. The Jalen Ramsey saga rolls on as it seems unlikely that the Jags will trade the embattled corner before tomorrow night's game. And here's what ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter thinks it will take to get a deal done.
The issue here
is that you have to compensate the Jacksonville Jaguars and then give Jalen Ramsey a huge new contract extension. Jalen Ramsey wants to be paid. That's a part of any trade that would happen. When the time comes that Jacksonville has received what it believes is a fair offer, they're going to trade Jalen Ramsey because he wants out, and I think they'd like him out.
And Ramsey isn't the only Jaguar making a splash. Rookie quarterback Gardner Minshew was offered an endorsement deal worth up to $1 million from an adult website. As part of the agreement, Minshew would guide and live stream an exercise class in the nude or only wearing a jockstrap. Sorry. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com.
Follow the wave to Atlantic Infinity during this summer's sales event.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one for a luxurious showroom.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one with a stress-free buying experience.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
The only one fast, dependable service.
Follow the wave to the only one Atlantic Infinity.
Don't miss the summer sales event happening now at Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Our partners at BSN Sports, the largest provider of team sports equipment and apparel in the country, would like to thank all of the coaches out there who truly are the heart of the game. While BSN Sports is the best at equipping athletes with a one-stop shop for everything needed to run an athletic program, coaches are the best at equipping lives. And that's the real final score. Learn more about how BSN Sports can save you time off the field so you can impact more lives on it by calling your local BSN Sports sales professional or by visiting bsnsports.com today.
Is today the day it'll finally stop raining?
We sure hope so, but it's been a very wet summer so far. This is Mike with Big Fish Roofing. Don't forget, your roof is the first line of defense against the elements. Here at Big Fish Roofing, as an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor, we are locally owned and we drive our business with quality and integrity. We do not require any down payments until your roof project is complete. You can find us at bigfishroofing.com or facebook.com/bigfishroofing. We are the roofers you can trust. We are Big Fish Roofing.
Don't miss the ultimate land liquidation sale on Saturday, September 21st and save up to 70% on all lake access home sites. Get 1 to 3 acres and a new barn-dominium shell from only $47,900. All roads and utilities are 100% complete, including clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, and more. All lake access home sites will be liquidated from only $14,900. That's right, only $14,900. To schedule a tour, call 888-GET-LAND or visit at 888getland.com.
As you know by now, I love the wings at Mr. Chubby's Wings. Hey, everyone, this is Brent Martineau. You'll love them, too, and you have to try the wings. But Mr. Chubby's has a full menu. Parents, kids, and sports teams, this is made for you. The American Dream Special. Burgers, fries, and a famous Mr. Chubby shake for just $12.99. The American Dream Special. I suggest throwing in some wings, too, especially the Maple Cajun. 2 locations, the West Side and in Fleming Island. Chub it up at the place to be, Mr. Chubby's Wings.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds that guarantees you a $500 gift card if they can't beat anybody's price on a diamond.
Don't miss the ultimate land liquidation sale on Saturday, September 21st and save up to 70% on all lake access home sites. Get 1 to 3 acres and a new barn-dominium shell from only $47,900. All roads and utilities are 100% complete, including clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, and more. All lake access home sites will be liquidated from only $14,900. That's right, only $14,900. To schedule a tour, call 888-GET-LAND or visit at 888getland.com.
At Action News Jax, we're here for severe. When storms threaten, put your trust in the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Team, led by Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish, rated the most accurate for the last 13 years.
The First Alert Weather Team is the only team of certified meteorologists in the Jacksonville area. That means we have the most schooling and training to forecast and predict severe weather, and that experience will keep you safe from a storm.
Action News Jax First Alert Weather on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Follow the wave to Atlantic Infinity during this summer's sales event.
Ride the wave to Atlantic Infinity.
You deserve the wave of luxury that Atlantic Infinity is designed to deliver.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
Atlantic Infinity at 10980 Atlantic Boulevard or at atlanticinfinity.com.
Alexa, how do I drive more customers into my business?
First, people will need to hear about you.
Okay.
Then you need to be online where they look for you.
Online, huh?
Then you need to be involved in the community. Then you need to...
Whoa. I don't have time for all that. I need to run my business. Alexa, can you help me find someone that can help me with online marketing?
Okay, searching for a local team that can help.
Codan is now Local Solutions, your local marketing team putting you at the top of mind. Visit JacksonvilleLocalSolutions.com today and let us take your business to the next level so you can get back to running it. Local Solutions, powered by Cox Media Group. Marketing solved.
Beards Diamond's incredible 5 years, 0 interest with 0 down has been so popular, we're extending it till the end of September. How about a $3,000 designer setting? You pay just $50 a month.
Or a $2,500 pair of diamond studs? You pay less than $42 a month.
Take advantage of Beards Diamond's already low prices. Then spread your payments out over 60 months and get her that piece of jewelry she's been dreaming about. Shop Beards Diamonds.
Located at the St. John's Town Center.
The Stephen A. Smith Show.
I don't know what would make him think I would care about it. I don't give a damn whether I'm blocked on Instagram or not. Not like I tried to Instagram him directly. Anybody thinking about trying to post something on his page?
The Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hi, this is Grayson Marshall Jr., 2016 ACC legend, and you're listening to ESPN 690.
Jalen's still been supportive in the meeting rooms and everything like that. The coaches have done a great job of just making sure that we're focused on the game plan. You know, when you come off a tough loss like that and then you have injuries, a quick turnaround on Thursday, it's just eliminating distractions. And that's one thing that Jalen has helped us out with, just controlling it, still showing up, still being here. He didn't have to be here, but he's still supporting us, and we're all just, gelling still and just letting them do what they have to do.
You pumping your fist.
Spoken from my own mouth. Oh, yeah.
You, Maurice Jones Drew.
Someone's been listening to ESPN 690 radio,
What'd you do? Call AJ
What's
Boyer?
up, man? We might have a little Facebook group going on, man. Don't worry about it. Sorry you didn't get the invite.
I think tomorrow, Kuz, on the show, we have to, get a definition of distraction.
You're all good, man. You and Rhino Hallen can hang out in your Facebook group, and me and the players will hang out on our Facebook group, and we'll see every once in a while, man. It's no big deal.
Let's just be perfectly honest.
Don't be mad.
We do live in a different world. And I don't know which one's right or wrong, but I know they're different.
They are.
No doubt about it. Brent Martineau, former Jags player, Austin Lane, here on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. What a week. I was just saying to Austin, I said, this is why it's fun doing a show every day. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. We could really go on. And apologies to some of the folks that tried to call in and we didn't get to. Saqib's calling in and has a thought real quick, so I do want to get to him. We'll get to some more comments coming up on social media before we get out of here tonight. What's up, Saqib? What you got today?
Hey, what's up, guys? I thought about this really quick. I don't think if you gave Jalen right now $150 million, he would stay here. He doesn't want to be in this city. I don't care what he says that he cares about the fans or whatever, that we supported. We supported this guy no matter what. We love this guy. I don't think he wants to be in this city. So all the fans, the Jaguar fans out there like I am, this guy does not want to be in this city, okay? So let's just let it go, get whatever we get for him, and move on. I know it's kind of hard. We all love the guy, but let him move on, and that's just it is what it is. And then see how it goes for next year. I mean, that's all I can say about that, man.
Thanks, Saqib. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging on the line for that. You brings up a good point. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do think that. He just wants out. First of all, Saqib, I will say this. If you give him $150 million, I think he stays.
No, for sure.
Because money does talk at the end of the day. Maurice Jones Drew made that perfectly clear. Mm-hmm. And he's been in that situation in his career. But how much does he... I get it. He can say he loves Duval, and I'm not saying he hates it. I'm not saying he hates the city, the people, the fans, the anything. He likes the beaches. He likes where he lives. He's building a house, all that stuff. I can buy all that. Yeah. It's not about that. It's about, would he rather be somewhere else?
Well, and listen, he said on that podcast that he'd rather, if he had the choice,
yes.
He said if he wasn't in Jacksonville, he would choose Las Vegas, which, no offense to Las Vegas, fun city to visit. I was there for the All Elite Wrestling thing. I wouldn't live there, dude. I don't want to live in Las Vegas. I'd much rather live in Jacksonville. Or he said Nashville, where he kind of grew up and everything.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. So ask the question, does he want to be there? Nothing that he's ever said, nothing he's ever tweeted has indicated that he does not want to be in Jacksonville. If you were to offer him a max deal to make him the highest paid corner, which I truly believe he is the best corner, so if he gets paid like it, yeah, he's going to make a lot of money, but you're also showing him that, listen, man, we're willing to pay you this much because we want you this much. We trust you this much. We value you this much. And this is how much that money shows that. So, yeah, the money is great, but it's also what the money represents. And that's the fact that the team wants him around and in that locker room.
Coos, any other comments over there? I know that we had to get to some. What you got, if any? Or did I put you on the spot?
No, you're good. I got him right here. The first comment is saying, do you guys think Flip should let Gardner just air it out tomorrow?
That's a good point. And to that point, it's not going to be the air raid offense, all right? It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers and just throwing around or Drew Brees throwing around. But I do think he's given them a comfortability to at least run their offense and say, hey, you know what? We can trust this guy to do this, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, you know, the Titans have shown a little bit of different offense where they have showed glimpses of where they like to pass a little more. They're not going to do that against the Jaguars. They're going to come in and try to run the ball because that's what's won them against Jacksonville 4 times before. And I think if you're John DeFilippo, I do think you expose, their secondary a little bit and their defense, and you try to pass the ball, whether that's going to your tight ends, whether that's going to your running back and Leonard Fournette, which we saw glimpses of, which looked pretty impressive in the pass game. It's about keeping that defense honest because I guarantee Tennessee's going to come in, stack the box, and go, Gardner Minshew can't beat us, bring it on. And if they do that, and you're John DeFilippo, who, he likes spreading the ball around as we've seen so far, that gives you an opportunity to win because I'll tell you what, on the other side of the ball, Brent, with Mariota, I get it. They're trying to make Mariota the guy in Tennessee. They're so, putting the ball in his hands way too much, I feel like. I don't think Mariota's the guy. And if you can get after him with that offensive line being kind of decimated right now with Taylor Lewan sitting out, I think it's going to be your game to win.
All right. We'll see what happens. We're going to break down the game for the first time this week tomorrow.
Like 2 hours before the game's going to happen.
All right, I got to get this thought in. And I want you to thought real quick. We got a couple minutes left. I believe we might be looking at, if you take your crystal ball in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, wherever the NFL may be. We've talked about this before. Where will the NFL be in 20 years? Is it in danger a little bit because of the violent game it is, the concussions, the parents not allowing their kids to play as much? So take that part and now add in Antonio Brown drama. Things like Ramsey. I'm not saying Ramsey's a key point here, a trigger point, but the Ezekiel Elliott's, the Melvin Gordons, the Le'Veon Bells, guys like that, wait a minute, I bought my season tickets and I'm not sure they're going to play. I don't like that. From a fan perspective, I don't like that. I don't know if I'm going to see some of my stars play or are they going to hold out even though I think they're under contract and they're supposed to play. It's not whether it should or shouldn't, but from a fan perspective, I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Also, now we're seeing quarterbacks going down. We're seeing a ton of injuries here in the first few weeks. We're seeing a philosophical difference of how we approach the preseason and what we should do in the NFL for the preseason. Should we play 4 games? Should we play our starters? Should we practice hard? Well, whatever anybody did, Drew Brees is down. Roethlisberger is down. 2 quarterbacks, well, mono is one of the reasons in the Jets, but another one of 2 quarterbacks are down. Nick Foles is down. Players across the league are getting hurt. A lot of star players are getting hurt. So now, again, your big-ticket guys, not all of them, but a good amount of them, aren't there for the games. Now, fast forward a little bit, Tom Brady is going to be gone at some point. He's your mega star of the league. The Patriots, they're the team you either love or hate. Sure. They're the dynastic team, and they are going to be gone. That will hurt the brand a little bit when you lose a guy like Brady who's the best to ever play it.
Yeah.
Manning, that coincided with the whole kneeling and all this other stuff. But I think the Manning loss hurt the game a little bit. I mean, he was one of the key stars. People watch the game because of Manning. So what I'm wondering, are we going to look back at this time frame and say, oh, that was all this stuff, all of it.
Yeah.
The empowerment of players, the injuries, the violence, the concussions, the lack of youth play in the sports, or at least the falling numbers, have triggered our most popular sport in the state to be less popular.
So
is there a chance?
I mean,
or is that kind of?
I can answer this real quick. So, listen, the NFL is too big to fail. When I was a kid, it was about watching the VHSs. It was NFL crunch courses. It was about the big hits. It was about defense. It was about the grit, determination. Well, what happened? Players started getting concussions and things like that, and the injuries started to be prevalent. So the NFL switched it to offensive-oriented stuff. People still tuned in and watched. Completely different game. People still tuned in. Even with the whole Kaepernick thing, people threatened not to watch. Well, the viewers have never been higher, the viewership. So I think the NFL is way too big to fail.
All right, we can talk more about it tomorrow. But
I
I
hope
wanted
so,
to get
because
it
I
in.
have like 10 seconds to sum that up. Yeah.
Hey, Jaguars All Access tonight, 7 o'clock. Maurice Jones Drew will be there. I'll see you on TV, CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Good morning, class. A quick head count. Tiffany.
Here.
Zach.
Yup.
Steven. Is he absent again?
For many kids, just getting to school feels like a challenge. Staying through graduation is even harder. That's where Communities in Schools comes in. A powerful community of caring adults, working with vulnerable kids in schools every day, helping them overcome the barriers